Thank you, Amy. I'll call the meeting to order at 7:01. Let the record show that 5 of us are here in person. And we have Aaron.
Not in yet. Unless that's him on the iPhone.
I think he's on audio only. Aaron, if you're there, could you identify yourself, please? I just spoke with him 10 minutes ago. Okay, we will proceed, and when Aaron comes, we'll note his arrival later. Dottie, he will be here in person around 8 o'clock, so I'll take the meeting through 8 o'clock. And then I'll happily hand it back to you. First, I don't have the bite, I don't have the agenda.
I didn't bring them either, to be honest with you. The minutes.
Yep.
Close enough.
Okay, so we had called to order, we had roll call. Approval of the minutes, item 2, approval of the minutes from the regular monthly meeting of 4/13, that was last Thursday. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from 4/13?
I'll make that motion.
Steve has the motion, is there a second?
I'll say.
Larry has a second, is there any discussion, alterations, or changes to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes from April 13th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes have passed. Next item is item 3, correspondence. I did about an hour and a half ago receive an email that came through the VOF email. Did everyone get a chance to see that?
Yes,
Okay.
I did.
Okay, and there was correspondence this evening from our first selectman. Before we dive into that one, is there any other? Am I missing any other correspondence? We do have Bill's most excellent weekly updates that have come through. Thank you, Bill, for that. Those were in front of us this evening. Anything else that I may have missed? Okay. Hearing none. If everyone's in agreement, this is related to the budget. It's related to a line item that we've talked about, rather than getting into it in correspondence. Maybe we can pick it up during the budget workshop. Okay, we will do that. Next item on the agenda would be citizen comments. And we have citizens here. Thank you all for coming. And we have citizens on the Zoom. We'll start in the group. I'll remind everyone to please keep it to a 3-minute maximum, if you would. And again, if you have more than 3 minutes or any other comments that you'd like to share with the board, post the meeting or post your 3 minutes, send us an email. We'll be glad to review it and take all emails into consideration. So with that, are there any citizens in the room that would like to make a comment? Yes, could you state your name and your address, please?
Sure. My name is Julian Nolly. I live at 198 Ravenel Road. It's fine. I just want to state my opinion that I think that this budget for the education should go forth as presented. I'm involved in the PTO and I've been meeting a lot of parents that are very shocked that moved to town and did not realize the school was so underfunded, and that PTO raises a lot of money for teachers and things like that. And it's shouldn't it all be related to the PTO burden to supply teachers with things that they need or request because they didn't get their budget passed. So I just wanted to let it know that the townspeople that are new to town are disappointed that they were not aware the school was so underfunded when they moved to town. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other citizens in the room? Yes, please.
My name is Linda Charlton. I live at 9 Powell Lane. The results of the recent referendum, in which all 3 questions passed, show the voters in the town understand and desire additional funding for our educational system. I respectfully request that the Board of Finance members keep this fact in mind and refrain from making any cuts to the Board of Education's proposed budget. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, please.
I'm Angelo, 640 Fabian Road. Full transparency, Board of Ed member. President of Turtle Rock Trust, building committee member, as well as alumni of Turtle Rock Memorial High School. I respect all of you, always have. Some of you were teachers and principals, dear friends. One of the things, and this is going to be very hard for me to say, one of the things that I am very upset with is for years, we have always said Board of Education is one of the largest employers, and it's also the largest portion of our town's budget. And here we are again, the 11th hour, trying to squeeze a softball through a garden hose. It's such disregard, and I don't believe that it's right for our taxpayers. When all of our boards work together, and I'm just going to talk about our board on the Board of Education, between contract negotiations until 4 o'clock in the morning, get up and then have to go to work. All of our budget workshops. Not to mention all the other subcommittees. The hours that goes into our budget and to have total disregard is, I think, not serving our town nor our taxpayers, which we've all been elected to stand up for. For that simple point, I hope you take the budget into consideration and put it before the taxpayers as it has been presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen who would like to make a comment at this time?
There is some on. the
Yes.
Zoom. Okay.
Sorry, one
Sorry.
more person. We'll move to the Zoom next.
Say sorry in the beginning. I'm very, very
You
disappointed.
should say it.
Oh, sorry.
We know you well. but-
Yes, 12 Clarence Drive, Thompson.
Thank you.
And I want to just say, I'll start off just by apologizing to you if I offend you in the beginning. I'm very disappointed. We worked hard on putting our budget together. We listened to the taxpayers. We heard what they had to say, and they asked for safety, security, resident trooper. They asked that we fund our fire departments. They came in, I received calls, we received contacts about the animal control. And the 3 things that you cut first, or you level funded, or you even, with the fire departments, were those 3. Resident trooper, I get it, you put it on the referendum, but I think we all know in the past, that's not been a successful way to get something passed. Putting it on with the budget, in past history, we've had failed referendums with questions on them, where everything has failed. I don't think that's a good way to put this out. I really don't. I think you need to put it, I would love to see you put it back in. Send it out to referendum and let the townspeople decide. I would also ask that you send the Board of Education budget out as is, no cuts. Our education, our school system, these are the foundations of our town. The departments I just mentioned are foundations. If we want to move forward and have progress, such as the mill and having 400 units there, St. Joseph's School and having 40 units there, or any other, we have to have security, safety. We have to have adequately funded fire departments. I would ask, and our school is what every town, whenever anybody's looking to move to town, that's what they look at. This is progress, and it's going to be painful this year. Every town in northeastern Connecticut is feeling this. I actually probably in the state of Connecticut. Well, maybe not the other side, but I would ask that you rethink the decisions you've already made and put things back in instead of taking away from our town. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you. We'll move to the Zoom at this point.
Yep, and Ms. Valerie Clark had her hand up first.
Hi.
Valerie Clark, 105 Elm Road. I wanted to thank you for not cutting the fire department budgets. Last week, there was some angst that I heard from the Board of Finance around community asking for more, if I recall correctly. That was the reason for that was some special funding for important equipment. I believe it was oxygen equipment for the firefighters, and that was a one-time thing. I would encourage you to go back to, rather than level funding each of the fire departments at the full budget, that you go back to funding them at their request levels so that each department gets what they asked for rather than some getting some of someone else's budget. And then, and I apologize because I understand that the folks in the room, this is not a popular opinion, but I feel that there are indeed additional cuts that can be made to this budget on both sides of the equation. Thank you.
Ms.
Thank you,
Bolte was-
Valerie.
Ms. Bolte was next.
Ms. Bolte?
You're muted. Jessica, you're muted. You're muted.
Okay, let's move on to
Oh,
Danielle.
Oh,
Danielle,
are we
you're-
good?
Yep.
Yep,
we
you're
can hear
good,
you.
Jessica. Go
All
ahead.
right, Jessica Bolte, 1081 Riverside Drive. We've sat the last few weeks with painful long discussions over $200 to $5,000. I would hope the Board of Finance would take the same effort when discussing the BOE budget. Every year we receive the same feedback of we can't tell you how to spend. That is a cop-out. There is nothing in the legislation stating Board of Finance cannot make suggestions or comments to the Board of Ed. The town put out a survey to residents. The amount who responded equal to 61% of the average of voters in the last two referendums. The majority asked for increased spending in education, fire and ambulance, and public works. The majority supported a resident trooper. The last several meetings have shown that the Board of Finance has not taken into account the survey nor citizens' comments. This was exhibited by cutting town hall paving, removing the loader, and moving the truck to a lease-to-purchase program, causing the taxpayers to spend more money, as well as discussion on reducing the amount to be allocated to the fire departments, as well as moving the resident trooper to a separate line on the ballot that will cause confusion. It's time for this board to follow the majority voice in this town. Based on the last several weeks of citizens' comments, emails to Board of Finance, and villager articles, that is the opinion of moving this town forward instead of holding it back. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Danielle, you're next.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I am asking the Board of Finance and members. Oh,
Sorry to
Sorry.
interrupt, Danielle.
Yeah.
Danielle from, I
Oh.
know, but everybody else.
Oh, sorry, guys.
It's okay.
Danielle Carlson, 3 Rachel Drive, North Grovenordale, Connecticut.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll start over. I am asking the Board of Finance members to leave our school budget as is. This budget presented to you and its increases are representative of needs-based inflation, the national inflation rate, and contractual increases. Leaving this represented budget as is would remain the status quo. If you reduce this budget, you will be reducing the quality of our children's education, which includes a reduction of teachers and the increase of classroom sizes if a reduction's made. The children of Thompson have the right to receive a fair and adequate education. If budgetary reductions are made, they will be receiving less services, less opportunities, and less educational supports. That's a sad fact. Some may say year after year, they are still receiving an increase, even with the reductions, that they should be content with their increase. Who can be content or comfortable with an increase that doesn't cover their budgetary increases? That's called a deficit. And we have faced a deficit now for 2 years in a row. Why would we set ourselves up for this again? As the Board of Finance, you are responsible to recommend a fiscally responsible budget to go to referendum. And the only way you'll be able to do that is to leave the school budget as is. Schools are a vital part of every community. We cannot afford to underfund this vitality anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Anyone else on Zoom, any citizen on Zoom that would like to make a comment at this time? Okay, and lastly, we'll loop back through, yes.
Matt Polsky, 92 Sunset Hill Road. I'm on the Board of Ed as well. I will say this out loud in front of everybody. I don't like paying taxes. We pay federal taxes, we pay state taxes, we pay local taxes. Taxes you pay locally directly affect the local community. The taxes you pay to the state go into God knows where. The state does whatever they want with them. The federal taxes pay for everything else. And we have very little control over where our money goes in the federal and state level. we have a lot of control here as citizens of this town where the money gets spent. We are asking you, as the citizens of the town, spend it wisely, spend it effectively in this town. And please keep the budget where it needs to be, where we can spend it directly here. And we've had problems with paying too much taxes. I don't like I said, I don't like paying taxes. You can contact our state and federal representatives to see what they can do to get the black hole, the money that the black hole goes into, taken care of. But here, there's no black hole here, folks. This is money that we can see every line on here. We can see every line on here where this money is going. There's no black hole here. There's no obfuscation. This is it, and however many lines, you can see it. So please keep it local. Please spend it effectively.
Thank you. Any other citizen? Like to make a comment?
I'm an employee, I don't live in the town anymore, Robert, but I speak.
Technically, I don't think so, but I'll ask if that's out of bounds. I don't think they need to be a resident.
I don't think it's a requirement, right? Well, I would, if it's up to us, I would say that the person speak.
Sorry. Anyone else, any other citizen would like to make a comment? Yes, please.
Sally White, 308 East Thompson Road. To the contrary, having a budget item that stands alone doesn't cause confusion. What it does is create clarification. If it has merit, it can stand on its own and be seen clearly to the public as to what it is and what the benefit is going to be. The one question I have, realize you don't necessarily answer, but when you show the mill rate when you work, like at the end of last week, did that include the mill rate for the trooper, or was that just the town and the school? I think it would be helpful to the taxpayers if they saw that combined mill rate, if everything was approved, what that would be. And then the in terms of the impact on business in town, having done a little financial and economic reading today, I was reading how a lot of people are actually spending more time in Dollar General, Walmart, and so forth. People are buying their retail items, their grocery items in more low-cost stores. In fact, in terms of investments, it's being recommended to buy Dollar General stock and Walmart and so forth, because more people are going in and out because they have to, because of the impact on their cash flow. And in business in town, they're all facing salary increases in order to hold people, so their cash flow is being affected. And also, they have a tremendous problem with staff shortages. I'm aware of, not in this town, but in other towns of companies that have actually had to close because they can't find people, and or because they have to pay more money. So we're not just looking at the households, but we're looking at the businesses in town. And I think it's too bad to think that you're saying that Board of Finance is disregarding. Actually, I'm seeing a lot of disregard for the source of the tax revenue in town, and that destroys the businesses and the taxpayers. Also, for clarification, I too went through 12 years of Thompson schools, graduated Turtle Rock. There wasn't any kindergarten school when I went to school. I went straight into first grade. Didn't seem to hurt matters in the long run. But I don't mind paying taxes. I complain when they're too high because I know they're not being optimized and used efficiently and effectively. I have a hunch that we're not optimizing our resources at the school, sometimes in the town. And there are folks in town who I've asked to come out and I've talked with about the situation, and they say, Sally, you go speak. We can't speak. We'll get too mad. We'll go to the polls and we'll vote, but please speak up for us. Let's see. The other thing that's curious to me, with these increase in the school budget, I have not seen any evidence that there will be a qualitative or quantitative improvement in the performance of the schools scholastically or in their future opportunities or the character. I haven't seen that. All I'm saying is that you're neglecting, but where's the proof that it's going to change things? It's going to be busy as usual. You'll have an increase, and then what happens? Is it going to change the quality and the character of the school? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hey, Kathleen Herbert, 122 Wilsonville Road. I'm chairman of the board of the Board of Education. Since Melinda took over as superintendent of the schools and put certain other people in charge in administration, we have put in place the Bradley program, which has saved the town over $3 million in less than 4 years that it's been in place. By bringing back students that would normally, special ed students that would normally be outplaced that are up to $100,000 a year, saved in transportation. It's now cost around $47,000 a year, and they're in-house. So that's been over $3 million savings. All right, we have the transition program has been brought in-house, which for students that have aged out of the high school, but were required to educate them up to 22 years, till they're 22 years old. We brought that in-house to save money to the taxpayer. That has saved us over, I think, $100,000 a year, if I'm correct. I'm looking at our student director of student services. And that will continue. That is brought in-house. We have put in place programs that save the taxpayers dollars. We are continually looking at ways to save money, both in the facilities and in programs that we bring into the school to save taxpayers dollars. Sally, you may have gone through 12 years of school, but I did too, and that was many years ago. There are different problems in the schools now. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different place. Schools are a different environment. We now need to provide mental services. We now need to provide a lot more services to students than we did when you and I went to school. It's a whole different ballgame. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other citizen in the room here?
Rob, Aaron is not on.
Super.
We want to include that in.
Thank you. 7:24, Aaron joined us by audio. Thank you, Aaron. Welcome. Any other citizen in the room have a comment?
Mr. Vice Chair, I have a-
Excuse me?
I have a comment.
The select woman, please comment.
So Amy St. Ange, first selectman, also resident of Thompson, of course, 139 Riverside Drive. So I left last week pretty much infuriated. And you're doing your job, I understand that. But when you're here day to day and you're working with these people and you're trying to make things happen in the town, to see what happened and to deal with that was really hard for me to process. I was kind of over it by this morning when Bill called me to talk about it. But I thought I would just point out a couple things that stood out to me. The first is the second concern that I receive in my office next to roads are dead trees. We had put 25,000, which was 10,000 more than the previous year's budget. That will cover about 15, maybe 20 large trees that our crew can't take down. So every tree counts, and each one that we can't take down this year will be one that potentially will fall on a car or in a road, and will cost us in the future and possibly cost a life, because if we don't forget, this past summer, a dead tree limb fell on top of someone here in Thompson.
It wasn't in a roadway, it was on private property, but these are concerns that we had in last year's summer. Their trees were falling everywhere, so this was a major concern for me. So I'm disheartened that $5,000, a drop in the bucket, barely affected the mill rate, was taken away from that. Additionally, our Director of Public Works offered back the payloader for the transfer station, said, we can make the repairs we need, we'll make it work for another year. And then $10,000 was taken away from the truck repair fund and the equipment repair fund. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. Additionally, we had requested 40 hours for our animal control officer. This is a 24/7 position. I've covered her when she's been away on vacation. The calls come in nonstop. The suggestion was made that she should be providing reports. Well, let me put it this way. She makes $39,000 a year. She's about half of what the average department head makes here within the town. So yes, it is a lot to ask for her, on top of being on call day and night, trying to answer calls from people, trying to do the reporting that she's required to do with the state of Connecticut, for her to, on top of that, report to this board. She reports to me. I know the work that she's doing, and she does a great job for this town. So I'm very disappointed. That's the one request I would make, is that the board would reconsider giving her the 40 hours that she deserves. And the last thing I want to bring up is that at the end of last week's meeting, the suggestion was made that we revisit the 3% salary increase. This was a decision I made as a gesture of goodwill to our staff. And I know that the contract states 2.25%, but that contract was negotiated literally at the height of COVID, when there was so much uncertainty. And the staff, particularly with the Public Works Department, said, you know what, we're going to try to do our best to keep the costs down for the town, unknowing that we would experience such a high inflation rate in town. On top of all of this, during our conversations about whether or not the Board of Selectmen would give them 3%, the statement was made that, well, sometimes with contracts, you win some and you lose some. And you know what? No. Employees matter, people matter. These are people's lives. These are their livelihoods. This week, we lost a Public Works maintainer because they got a job for $4 more per hour in another town. So to suggest that the 0.75% increase over the contract is something substantial is ridiculous. Because we are going to lose more people to other towns, good workers, good employees that are skilled, because we are not paying them enough. So I just hope that the board, if this is brought up, that you'll consider this, so that we don't lose any more staff. These people are important. I work with them every single day. They work hard for the town and they're dedicated to the town. This is a small gesture of good faith to show them that we really do care. We care about them more than we care about the contract. So, and that's all I have.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other citizens in the room? Anyone else on Zoom? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 5, which is budget workshop. Pose a question to the group. We could either wrap up or retouch or go over any last items on the town side. We went through this on Thursday. We could touch on those again. And or the resident trooper communication that we have from our first selectman, or we could jump into the Board of Ed budget and then come back to these items.
I would just soon finish up and then go on. There may be some corrections that members wish to present. I'd like to personally deal with the Information we received from Amy regarding the resident trooper.
Okay,
I
any
think that-
objections to that? The only thing,
The
I-
person,
the only thing I would ask is if we do that, we could spend another 2 hours on the town.
Sure.
And it doesn't mean that when we move off of it, we can't go back to it later tonight or
Right.
tomorrow, but I do want to jump into the BOE at some point. And also note that we did want to wait till today when school was back and when parents were back. We didn't want to get into this last week
Mhm.
when lots of people were on vacation. We felt that might have been a little bit unfair to folks. So having said all that, we do have a correspondence from Amy. I think we've all read it. Amy, would you like to give us just kind of you had the direct communication.
Correct.
You want to just give us kind of your,
So my
Overview?
communication, this was my communication from attorney Ken Slater, which is the town's attorney. In regard to the idea that we could have a separate question on the ballot regarding the resident trooper. And the question that I initially posed to him was, well, if it doesn't pass, or if it passes, can we just add it back into the budget? He said, absolutely not. That's not an option. And it's also not an option to take it out. If you have a ballot question and it's a dollar amount, that's the dollar amount that has to become the budget. So the two options that he gave us, he said, is if you have sufficient funds in undesignated fund balance, you could include a resolution question following the question of whether to engage the resident trooper to approve a special appropriation from those funds. So basically, the first option is we have a question about a resident trooper, it passes, the funds would be pulled from undesignated surplus. The second option would be to include the funds in the budget for the trooper. If the resolution fails, if it passes, then you have this resident trooper. If it fails, the mill rate would have to be set based on the actual budget, even though the 200,000 would no longer be spent on a trooper. Then you will either have those funds as unexpended at the end of fiscal year, or it will be used by approved transfers to other expenses. So that is the answer from the attorney.
okay, thank you, Amy. Any discussion around this topic? Yes, David.
Based on the terminology that we have in front of us, I would suggest that under the line item surplus funds, which are in a sense undesignated fund balance monies, we include $200,000. In addition, then that we put a question on the ballot asking the taxpayers of our community whether or not they support the hiring of a resident trooper. So I think that achieves both purposes. If the money is in the budget under surplus funds, which is in reality undesignated fund balance, that's where it comes from. I think that would cover both concerns that the board has expressed in the past.
if I might comment,
Yeah,
I think
please,
that's a good
Steve.
suggestion. I think that makes a lot of sense. Basically include the funds in the budget. Spend them on that if appropriate. I think it's good. And while I'm on this topic, is the mill rate, it does include the trooper, doesn't it? Or no?
No.
It does
The
not.
trooper would, we eliminated that about a month ago.
We thought we could include it if
Right.
it passed. but-
So now it would have to include the trooper under this.
No,
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 no, it would be included in the
it's
surplus.
included.
The
under
plot is
surplus.
there, but the line is.
Yeah, the monies would be there in a different line item.
Right.
We would have to be based on that.
but the mill, I'm talking as far as the
Right.
mill
As far
goes,
as the mill rate
0.26
is-
mill would go up
Yes,
on this.
it'll go up
That's what
0.26.
that's what I was
Correct.
saying.
That is correct.
I just wanted to clarify. I thought I had it right, and I did.
You did, well,
The mill rate would go up. Yes.
it's where it is. It's where it is. That's important.
Excuse me, Amy, do you have a resolution prepared? I believe you have to approve that tomorrow night.
We haven't constructed anything. We've got the start of it, but it
Okay,
hasn't been
but
completed
that
until,
is reasonable. What I'm suggesting.
I would think so. It would be the same.
Any other comments, Larry?
You have here the 200, it is more than 200,000.
No, we had concluded that we could be fine with 200,000.
Okay, so that's where that came,
Yeah,
Yes.
as opposed to what the.
yeah. I think it was the meeting. Were you here when
was sick.
Lieutenant Cody came in for the meeting?
No, I was home sleeping.
Yeah, you were sick.
I was sick. When you get my age, you're sick all day.
He's there now.
My comments, Dave, I like,
Wish it.
Dave, I like the suggestion. It doesn't get us quite to where we wanted to be. Because if it's not passed as a question, the money's still in the budget, it's still in the mill rate, it's still a burden on the
It's
taxpayers.
still,
The way we had positioned it would have allowed it to be
right,
in or out, so
but we can't do that.
we can't do that, so given that constraint. That's what you described seems like a reasonable approach. We still allow the townspeople to have a voice on it. If they say no, the funds are still there for another purpose. If they
Or
say
no
yes,
purpose,
or no
next year.
purpose. And if they say yes, it then goes over. Any other comments on the topic? Aaron, any comments? Are you following?
I'm following. No comments at this time.
Okay,
Shall I make a motion to that effect then that we place $200,000 in the surplus account of the budget? And in addition, that the selectmen include a resolution in the annual town meeting and referendum posing the question to the community as to whether or not they wish to hire a resident trooper.
I'm
is
second.
there? Okay, the motion is made by Dave, seconded by Steve. I'm gonna repeat it to make sure I captured it correctly. The motion is to place $200,000 in surplus account, surplus funds account. And ask the selectmen to craft the resolution that would go with go on the ballot on the question around whether they support or not a resident trooper. Is there any discussion on the topic?
I have a question for Bill.
Sure.
Does that come under the revenue classification? The surplus funds, I believe it
I
does.
believe we have a line called transfers from surplus.
We did in the past. I just want to,
It's actually line 83 on our revenue schedule.
okay, that's fine. Just to make sure it's there. Thank you.
Any other discussion, questions, comments?
I do have one comment to share. And that is, I'm not in favor of the motion, not because I don't support having a resident state trooper in town, but because we're now adding another $200,000 back into the budget that we kind of had removed. It was kind of a solution a couple of meetings ago. And so now from a tax increase standpoint, we're moving in the, at least in my feeling, we're moving in the quote unquote wrong direction. Not that anything is right or wrong, but I think you know what I mean. So I'm feeling like this is getting us further away from a destination point that I'm hoping to reach. And so for that reason, I'm not inclined to take steps backwards from where I'm hoping to get. That's all.
Thank you, Aaron.
No, I'll.
Yes, Ron,
I was,
please.
I was keeping it to myself, but the same thing was in my brain because we're adding 0.26 mil to this budget. Whether the resident trooper happens or doesn't happen, it's still gonna go on to the taxpayers as 0.26 mil above whatever else passes that referendum. So I'm in agreement with Aaron.
Any other comments?
I appreciate your viewpoint. I think it gives the taxpayers an opportunity to really speak on this. Yeah, you're paying for taxes that maybe you don't end up spending on this particular item, but it gives them at least an option. So I I like that, giving them a voice. I would be in favor of the proposal. I appreciate your point.
Any other comments? I'll weigh in before we vote. I've always felt it's a series of choices and this is a choice we make and perhaps there's opportunities elsewhere for things we don't do. The budget is a list of things that we want to get done. And sometimes we can't get them all done. I feel on this one that and I said this early on, that I think it's important for the people to decide this. This impacts the town for a lot of years. It's not a one-time truck or a one-time purchase. And I get that it's a 2-year commitment, but it's really something that we're looking for in the future for many years to come. So I'm leaning on the side of letting the people have a voice. And if they say no, I get that it's still in the budget, but that doesn't mean it's spent. It can sit there and it could be part of next year if need be, or it could go to some emergency if need be. It's funds that we could use for other things. So they're not, it seems like a decent compromise because they're not specifically allocated if the vote was no.
I have a question for either Bill or Amy or both. Under the new ordinances which were passed during the pandemic, what is the limit of appropriation that can take place under the new ordinance? It used to be $50,000, but I think now it's 1%
and
of-
2%.
Under what conditions?
I could go grab the ordinance to read it specifically. I could go do that.
Because what I'm saying is if it's within the power of the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen to move forward in this matter, in other words, if the 1% allows us or the 2% allows us to appropriate up to $200,000, then we could exclude it from the budget and still have the authority to fund it if the people wish. But I don't have the ordinance with me, so
Where would we fund it from?
undesignated surplus, the same place we're funding it. It would,
With these funds that your motion is on or with
it-
funds that are in there right now?
with funds that are in there right now. It achieves the same
Understood.
purpose because those monies either way come from undesignated surplus.
And
Yeah,
Bill, do we have, sorry, Steve,
Okay.
Bill, do we have adequate funding in undesignated surplus today to fund such an
That's what
endeavor?
Amy's checking, she's checking the ordinance. I don't know.
It's a
what-
different question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. My question was, even if that says we can, are the funds available to do that?
We are on the
Still-
very low end of the suggested range for undesignated surveys.
On the very low end.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What is that?
How low?
Percentage, what is
I
that?
believe they had, I've heard a variety of ranges even from our own auditors, but it's been 6 to 10%. And we were around 6 the last time we looked at.
So, well, yeah,
So we're right at the low end.
Which would in fact affect our ability to bond.
Right,
Mhm.
correct.
Then I was asking David, because I thought maybe there was a combination of the two. Maybe we prove 100 and there's 100 there, but there's not. So we,
No, the,
okay.
It sounds like we're at the low end, so you're suggesting
it,
not, I don't know if it'll work, quite frankly.
well, you can do it, but
Right, but there's a no penalty there.
Okay. Any other comments, discussions? I don't know if we need to wait, Dave. I don't think that's gonna change. If the funds aren't there.
actually, that, the way I set it up does not affect the mill rate because it shows up as a revenue
A revenue and an expense.
and an expense.
So they
They offset each other. So
Or
it should
maybe
not,
not the
it should not affect the mill rate. If I'm thinking correctly, that was my intent.
Because I think, Rob, what he's getting at is the revenues to fund that item would come from undesignated surplus, not from
Not from
the tax burden. Which wouldn't affect the mill rate. So you're increasing your revenue and you're increasing your expense. And we do, if you notice in
Sorry,
Attorney
Bill,
Slade's.
sorry, Bill, just before you get off that topic, where's the increase in revenue coming from?
Undesignated surplus.
It's not revenue in the sense that I think of
I
revenue.
know.
Yeah.
Yes, no, you're right, Steve.
Yeah,
So it's being reallocated from surplus.
But it still leaves us in a position where we're very tight in that.
right. I understand that. I mean, we didn't expect this, right?
Right. No,
And we're trying to achieve both purposes, keeping the mill rate down and to provide the ability to hire a resident trooper.
So if we can't put it in surplus or undesignated funds, how would we fund it? To your resolution, we would need to fund it in some fashion.
Well, then you'd have to tax on it.
right. Then it would.
The option is to increase your taxes by 0.26.
So.
In my,
So we're clear what was the intention of your motion, because we're still discussing the
Yeah,
motion in a second,
yeah.
so.
the intention was to provide monies from undesignated surplus as
Okay.
revenue.
Okay,
That's why I was
Understood.
asking Bill those
understood.
questions.
I got
If
it,
it comes in as a revenue,
Yep.
then it offsets
understood,
Right.
understood.
the tax increase.
I got it. So, and your recommendation is that we're on the low end of the 6 to 10%. There's not enough money in there to support it. Okay, any other discussion? Thank you for clarifying.
So at the moment, if I might, at the moment, you're suggesting taking out a surplus.
That was the initial.
That's your-
correct.
Okay.
That was-
We all
that was not
clear?
my,
Understanding, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Are we
but
all-
surplus is undesignated fund.
Oh, yeah, I understand that, but
No, go ahead, Steve.
I wanted to, as much as I don't want to do it, I think it needs to come from the tax base.
Okay, I was on the call and we went through this and it wasn't clear, so I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, no, that's
motion a
fine.
second. Thank you.
Right.
So if the motion were to pass, we would, but as presented, we would potentially be in a disadvantage when it comes to bonding and other borrowing vehicles. We'd be in a worse situation there, not being able to borrow or borrow at a higher rate.
Well,
Okay, I just want everybody to know the consequences of what we're discussing
Yeah.
when they vote.
although it would appear as revenue, the revenue doesn't come in until the expenditure by correct. It would still remain in the undesignated fund balance until in fact, if and when we expended that for the resident trooper.
And the 6 to 10% could look differently then. We don't know. It could be worse.
Yeah.
Right now, we're at the low end.
Yeah, so it may not affect if
That's correct.
it's not approved.
Understood. Any other clarifications, questions, comments?
So just for my benefit,
Well, Amy, do you have?
Yes, hang on 1 second. Aaron's got the floor. Yes,
just for
Aaron.
my benefit, the motion that's on the table is to raise $200,000 in taxes and put it into surplus, right? That's still the nature of the motion that's on the table?
No, the motion is to raise the revenue at a surplus, the existing surplus. To be clear, that's on the low end of the comfortable range, the appropriate range, the recommended range. And move that over versus raising it through taxation.
So
Yeah.
then, just to make sure I follow, was the original motion on the table to raise it from taxation and put into surplus, but now the motion has been
No.
amended?
No.
No.
The original motion was to take the monies from undesignated surplus.
Okay,
and classify it as surplus in the budget.
okay,
If that's the case, that money is also recorded as a revenue. Therefore, it is
That's right.
budget neutral.
that's right. So then, if I understand, this is to take the money out of surplus.
That's correct.
Make a
Okay.
motion to amend prior motion. That we do not take it out of surplus. And just treat it as an expense.
Is there a second to the amending motion? Okay, hearing none.
May I ask Amy? for
Yep,
a
before we
clarification?
vote, yes, you may, please.
Did you have the,
So I pulled the budget ordinance, And what it's saying is. The town of Thompson shall send all future appropriations 1% of the approved fiscal budget, except for the annual budget, to a referendum for approval. 5% goes to town meeting. So,
So it would go to town meeting,
mhm,
but town meeting could in fact approve it.
yes.
Thank you.
Any other discussion, comments, clarifications? Okay, so we'll go in reverse order this week. Steve, how do you vote?
Oh, no.
Steve votes no. Aaron,
I will vote no.
Dave,
Yes,
Rob,
No,
Yes.
Larry, and I'll vote no. That motion fails to pass. Any other comments or questions around the correspondence from the first selectman resident trooper?
I'm not sure what we're facing here in terms of the trooper.
you just closed the door.
Well, I think just to touch on it, an amendment that takes it out of taxes, I don't know if there was enough interest in doing it that way, but that does, address the motion in a little bit way. If we're going to present this question to the taxpayers, to the residents of our town, then we need to be able to fund it one way or the other. We've just decided not to fund it out of surplus. The other choice is to fund it from taxes.
Which
So-
means it becomes a line item in the.
Right. Okay, agreed. Comes a line item, goes into the amount of money we need to raise via taxes.
Mhm.
But if we don't do it with out of the surplus, the other choice is to raise some taxes. I don't know what other options there are, other than
There
we
are-
say no, other than we say no to the state trooper,
Yeah.
and I don't want to say no to the state trooper.
My heartburn, Steve, on approving it as it was, the motion was made, that we wind the clock forward. Let's say we get funding for the HVAC system or some of the other larger items. And then we go out to bond and we're 1, 2, 3 points higher on bonding. The 200,000 looks like a rounding error over a 20-year note. That was my only concern. I think it was a great idea, Dave. I didn't want to support that, but later having a.
Oh, I don't want to take it out of surplus. I agree with you. But I just don't want to take it out of surplus. I think the taxpayers vote on the state trooper, and unfortunately, there's a cost to that.
Right.
So that's why I would prefer to, as I originally understood, and I apologize for understanding it clearly, that we raise the taxes to be able to cover it. Taxpayers decide whether they want it or not, and we have therefore the funds to pay for it. I don't know what our other choice is. I think we need to vote on I've already turned on my amendment, so.
I like what I thought was the flexibility that if the townspeople said, no, we don't have it sitting in a line item locked in for something that we can't, I liked having it somewhere where it could be used in some other need or used in the following year. And that's where I thought we were going with the, is there another,
I like that,
is there
yes.
another vehicle to do that? I would.
Well, you still can put it in as an expenditure.
Where, Dave, in the contingency?
Contingency, yeah. And then we're not obligated to expend it on
Said
How
line
about, how
item.
about, how
a
about,
set line
how
item.
about a motion that says we add $200,000 to what we've already have in our budget for contingency? With a potential funding of the state trooper.
Well, I would leave off the potential.
Oh, fair enough.
funding.
Just add 200,000 to the already designated contingency funds.
Is that a motion? Steve?
That's, I'm sorry, that's a motion.
Steve has a motion to add $200,000 to contingency. Is there a second? Larry has the second. The motion was, sorry, Donnie, the motion was to add 200,000, made by Steve to add $200,000 to the contingency fund. And it was seconded by Larry. Is there any discussion here? Any
No.
discussion here?
Back to Amy
Yes.
and the ordinance.
Yes.
Are we authorized to expend that money?
What is the percentage of the general budget? What's 0.5%?
About 11%? Oh, the whole budget would be the whole
Would
budget.
be about 400,000.
But technically, if it's, there's the question on the ballot still, then that's gone to that, right?
That's what?
Then that's the mechanism of getting it approved by the voters to make the expenditure.
Is the question gonna be on the ballot or is it gonna be back in the budget as a line item?
It's gonna be
I
on
think
the
it's
ballot.
gonna- I
Gonna
think
be
there's
on the
still
ballot,
gonna
still
be-
separate.
Still
That's why
gonna be
we're-
on.
that's
It's
why we're
gotta be
putting-
funded.
That's why he's proposing to put it in contingency versus put it in that line item.
Yeah, 0.5%. Yeah, so I think, I mean, it's still gonna, you're still gonna have a question on the ballot. For the public to decide,
Correct.
so then 154,000 is the 0.5, so
So it would have to go to a town meeting.
it has to go to town meeting anyways, right?
No, if the 0.5% was over 200,000, then we would be authorized to spend it, but since we are not identifying it as a resident trooper, regardless of the results, it would have to go to a town meeting. That's the way I understood.
But this still gives us the funds to do it.
Yes,
That's what I'm trying to do.
But it's going to town meeting to go to referendum. If I'm correct.
Can't they be?
yeah,
one and the same?
it's in the budget, it's being approved as contingency,
Right.
but it's not being approved as a resident trooper. Which is specific, and I believe it would need to be. Which means that we would have to go to town meeting. Even if the public said, yes, we want a resident trooper.
What if the resolution was written such that we wanted a resident trooper and it was funded through a contingency fund?
I don't know the answer to that.
Don't forget that answer tonight.
But the first step has to be to have the money there.
We're putting the money there if we
If we
approve
approve
this.
this.
Okay, so, well,
Yeah.
if we put the money there, Dave, if we put the money there. And it has to go out again for another vote and it passes the first time and it fails the second time, then it fails the second time. And I think
Yes.
that's the risk we take.
Yeah.
If we have to do it twice. Maybe there's a way that the resolution can be crafted such that it's taken care of in one shot. Yes, Bill.
What does putting it in contingency gain us? Just reinstating it in the state resident state.
Because if we reinstate it right in that line and the town people vote no, now it's sitting in that line, then what do we do?
Doesn't get expended.
It doesn't get expended.
And then it goes back to the.
It goes
general
back
fund
into the
anyways.
general fund.
And at what point?
At the end of the fiscal year.
What if
When we
wanna use
approve the
it- what if
transfers.
you want to use it during the year?
To replace
Well,
the
we
water.
have to approve that.
Well, I mean, then it goes to town meeting.
Okay.
But either way, we need to have the funds available in my mind, one or the other, so.
Okay.
Put it in
Yeah.
the resident trooper line. That
We have a
doesn't-
motion on the floor.
That's the
Ready?
easiest.
I know. We have a motion on the floor in a second. We're discussing the motion to put it in contingency.
And Larry seconded it, right?
That's correct.
I would rather just put it online. Because we're taxing the people.
Either way,
Either way.
Either way.
that's how I look at it.
Yes.
If we're done discussing it, we'll start with Steve. Steve, how do you vote?
Yes.
Aaron, how do you vote?
I vote no.
Dave?
No,
No,
Harry?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So this doesn't carry forward. So
I'll make a motion then that we reinstate $200,000 under the line item resident trooper.
okay, Dave has the motion to reinstate $200,000 under line item
243.
243. Can you second to that?
Second, I'll second.
Steve seconds that motion. Is there any further discussion on the topic?
And include question. I should
Yeah.
be specific about that.
We already voted on that. so.
Who seconded it? Steve seconded. Do you second the inclusion of the question?
We've already voted on that. a couple
No,
meetings
it
ago.
was part of another motion, which
Okay.
was defeated.
That's true. Any other discussion on the current motion? Okay, hearing none. Steve, how do you vote?
Yes.
Aaron, how do you vote?
I will reluctantly vote no.
Dave, how do you vote?
Yes,
Rob, man?
no.
yes.
Sorry. And I vote yes. This one carries 4-2.
Goes back in, 200,000.
Just added quarterly note.
Okay,
That's done.
that's done for now. Any other, say quick points, because nothing's quick these days. Any other points before we jump off? We can go back to this if we need to, tonight.
Back to the last one.
Yes, Larry.
Yeah, we're going back to where we left off.
I think we wrapped up pretty much, unless someone, we were kind of going back through last week and did we not touch on anything that anybody wanted to touch on?
I thought we finished.
I did too, but I just want to make sure every voice is heard and
I don't have any additional suggestions at the moment.
Are we going to discuss the raise? Other than discuss the proposed increase?
okay. You want to discuss the proposed increase, Steve? I'm sensing you might want to.
Well, I thought we might talk about it. I mentioned that last
You
time.
brought it up. Okay,
And then you felt very strongly about it one way or the other. My comment was that it is something to discuss, one way or the other.
okay,
If I understand it correctly, the unions have agreed to 2.25% increase, which is about 53,000. About, I don't know,
no, 35,000.
35,000.
3% is 53,000. 2.25% would be
Thank you.
35,000. Or the amount tonight, that's the facts.
What was the difference in this 3/4?
18,000.
I thought it was at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess if I might, the general question is, and I think you've answered it in your comments, is why do that? That was my question. Why do we want to do that? What's the justification for providing that extra 18,000? That was my question. And my thoughts were, is that enough? Or is that too much? Do we need to do that? We had a situation a couple of years ago where the suggestion was that the town's employees wouldn't possibly want an increase in this terrible COVID year, but they got it. And justifiably in my mind. But I didn't hear at that time the comment from our employees to say, no, it is a hell of a tough year. We're gonna pass. But now, Amy, you want to give them an extra rate. So I'd like to understand,
Well, I don't-
1 year, it's, geez, I don't, they shouldn't even think about getting a raise, but they
These
gave it to
staff
them
members
appropriately, I think.
didn't ask for a raise, and yes, they did go a year without any raise. And then, yes, Steve.
Yeah.
They went a year with 0%, and then the next year was 1.75. This is the third year that they're looking at 2.25. They didn't ask for it. This is a gesture of goodwill from my behalf to let them know that, you know what, you matter. And is it big enough? No, honestly, I wanted more. But I didn't have the full commitment of my full board. Of 3 people, one was not in agreement, so I pulled back. I would have rather seen about a 4% or a 4.5%. Because I need to keep these staff members here because it's hard to find staff. Ms. White said tonight that there are businesses that aren't able to find staff and they're losing staff. Because it's a competitive market right now. This is a small gesture, and for $18,000, that includes all the town hall staff, not just the union people.
Okay.
So that.
I'm not
includes our
arguing with you, Amy. I'm
directors.
trying to get an understanding.
I'm imploring
The difference.
this board.
The difficult part was that's why they have negotiations. That's the difficult part. It's not about not wanting to give people everything they deserve. That's why unions have negotiations.
Right.
You come to an agreement of that negotiation, and if it can go both ways. And I mean, you couldn't say right now, I only want to give them 2% and go that direction either.
Oh, no,
So
I
it's,
agree.
I'm just trying to make a statement of,
During the negotiations, if you were to look deeper.
and
into
that's,
the
you know,
contract, because the contract is public. We had also made allowances for snow differential, so when they go out on snow duty, they get $1.50 more per hour. Well, you know what, the last 2 years, they haven't even seen that. And it's no fault, it's the weather, you know.
I get it. I just want you to
control that.
understand my
But
point
I
is
just
that
don't- I just don't like to see my employees lose out. I don't like to see them losing in the world, and I don't want to lose another
I get it.
another employee. I really don't.
I
They
think-
matter to me and they matter to this town. They keep this town running. They really do.
I appreciate your position. I've lost employees recently.
Mhm.
I understand the market out there. It's a changed world. I appreciate
Right.
that.
I think every employer in any business right now struggles for it, but it's still. When you have a union negotiation thing going on, that's what you agree to and that's it. That's what you agree to. That's my only,
Again,
I
that's
can
another-
tell you,
that's
I
another
can tell you,
side. Yeah,
you know,
very good.
many people don't get 2.25. That's. And, you know, I'm just, because I want to just talk now a little bit, because I also see that a lot of times in the town things, if everybody's given 3% or 2.25, there's a big difference between somebody getting 2.25 or 3% that makes 35,000 a year
Mhm.
to making 80,000 a year. So percentages are difficult when you're talking about raises because, you know, it can be drastic on somebody, a big increase and a small increase on somebody else. So that's, you know, those are the things I thought about through this budget process is because everything's done in percentages. Somebody that's already got I don't want to use the word ridiculously high because, you know, that's not the right wording. But somebody that makes a lot more money than somebody else, 3% is a lot more than, you know, a lot more of a raise. So there's got to be a balance somewhere. Percentages are very difficult when you're talking about, you know, I just wanted to get that off my chest because I see it and I'm like, 3% at this opposed to 3% at that. So somebody 3%, they might be struggling with 3%, but somebody else, they're not struggling with 3%. It's a huge increase.
And they're already comfortable.
Exactly. That's the point I'm making. Inflation, we can use the inflation thing. But for some, it really doesn't have that effect because the pay is already high enough.
Okay, any other discussion?
What's everybody else think?
It's,
Because I'm struggling with, I don't really have an answer. I hear your viewpoint and I sure understand that. The unions have said what they want and or at least negotiated to a point.
and once that
But
negotiation
I
is
also
done,
know-
it's done, I
yeah,
think.
But I also know,
Yeah.
and Dave, I think you mentioned the other day, is that they can come back to the negotiating board if you'd like to bring this issue up. I'd almost rather see 4% in all honesty, if you really want to make a impact, and even that is,
But,
given inflation, it's,
but it should be done in the
Yeah.
agreement, is my point,
there's a point too.
you know.
That's. I mean, I really struggle with it.
Anyone else? Okay. More of a discussion than anything
There's
else.
no motions.
No, it's just,
I'll weigh in quickly before we go. I understand that and when this first came up, I was kind of in the camp on, you know, the agreement's the agreement. They signed the deal and the deal is the deal. And in some ways, I still feel that way, but I have heartburn period over these blanket raises. Because in my world, people are paid at market and they're paid at their value and what they drive. And we have in the town hall, in the school, we've got great teachers, we've got good teachers, we've got not so good teachers, we got great employees, you know, there's a range. And so I have simply just have full heartburn of not having a pay raise scheme that pays higher performers, higher value contributors. Now, having said all that, these are our neighbors. I think it's a small amount in terms of the big picture of what we're doing. And companies are losing employees, towns are losing employees and companies are losing employees. And I'm seeing that firsthand where wages are going up. We're in an inflationary period. That's what drives inflation to start with is climbing wages. So that's my view. I'd be more apt to support the
As is.
$18,000 as
Yes. Yeah, it's in the
kind of a long
total picture. It's not, I'm sorry with you. I don't know the answer.
Perfect timing.
You're doing a great job. I thought he was gonna stay near the door.
I have to say, I went home Thursday thinking Tuesday will be different and it wasn't.
Oh, boy. So we're back at what, 28?
So I think we're, was there anything else on the main,
Oh, you got it.
on the main topic, or are we ready to move over to the?
Talk about school.
Board of Ed?
Oh, no, we're 20.
Yeah, we're ready to talk about the school next.
Increase. It brings
Yep.
this up. you know.
Oh, I understood.
Something, yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Is that my,
That's the next, I think the next item.
no, I didn't hear anyone object to switching gears, going over to the school.
So I don't know if you might have been in between car and during that last discussion we had. We
Yeah,
had,
that was the 3% versus the.
Yes, okay.
Negotiated percent?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, and it sounded like there was no
There's no motion.
motion put on the table.
correct.
Okay,
Just your point of views.
Yep.
Sure.
okay.
So considering it table dead for now,
Yeah,
well, not dead, but moving.
yeah,
on.
I know what you mean. Just not actionable. at the
Not
moment.
actionable.
At the moment.
Talk about school.
School.
I'm a proponent of the school budget as is. However, we have seen a couple of things that are worth covering, I think, and adjusting the school budget. Sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead. No.
I apologize to interrupt. I think before we kick into the budget on the school and get deep into it, we were gonna hear some words.
Oh, my goodness.
Our
I'm so sorry.
superintendent.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, fine.
But this, that was
So-
supposed to be.
Oh, I apologize, not, I didn't know that.
So the superintendent had some comments that she wanted to share. And I think rather than citizens' comments, you're certainly welcome to please officially go into the school board review. This would be the public time to share your comments, so please be welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I want you all to know that with me this evening are our principals and our directors from each department. They have gone through the budget process, obviously, with the Board of Education. But they're here tonight in case members of the Board of Finance have specific questions. Who better than the people that run the departments to answer those questions? But before we get into this, and my comments will just be brief. First, I want you all to know that I realize the challenging position you're all faced with while trying to put forth a responsible budget to the town. I truly applaud your efforts and the time devoted to this very often unappreciated task. And thank you for all of the time putting into this. I've had the good fortune of leading Thompson Public Schools for the past 6 years. Thompson, as you well know, is a wonderful community with amazing students, families, great faculty, admin team, and staff at its schools. Over the past 6 years, the school demographics have significantly changed. When I started in 2017, Thompson looked very different. When I began my tenure, the poverty rate was just a bit over 30% among our student body. It has increased to over 43%. The number of special education students has increased to approximately quarter of all of our students requiring special education services. This doesn't include the 70+ students who have 504 accommodation plans and the many students that receive Title I services who require additional reading services. Thompson students are now more racially and culturally diverse, something we all celebrate and embrace. However, we also must provide services now, starting last year, to English language learners. 6 years ago, our homeless student count was usually about 1 or 2 a year. We're currently in the double digits, and there's a cost associated with having a homeless student. If they're homeless and live in another town, we pay for that transportation to bring them back here to Thompson. That's a federal regulation that we can't get away from. When I started in 2017, Thompson's academic outcome trailed the state averages in math, ELA, and science. We were low on our SAT and AP test scores, and I was hired by this member of the Board of Education to correct this trajectory. Entering the district, I found essential support services, including reading, special education, social workers, guidance, counselors, etc., teachers in need of professional development, a curriculum that needed revision and needed curriculum resources, along with facility upgrades, not to mention coming in on the heels of a poor evaluation from the apps. I was, however, quick to learn that at no fault of any board, that the funding for essential staff and routine maintenance that had been annually reduced to cover increased fixed costs and to balance the budget. Those contract obligations, fuel, healthcare, those increase every single year. And the budget increases never covered those costs. So more reductions had to be happening within the school department budget. And we've made, I think we've reduced staff overall 8.5 positions. That's about $850,000. But this is a phenomenon, what I find interesting. While I love a good challenge and I love a puzzle and I like to try to figure things out, I was faced with a district that was kind of in a shell form. And we still have to add those support services because remember, our demographics are continually changing. The thing that I've never experienced before in all the districts that I've worked in is I've never experienced citizens of a town. Sure, everybody complains and doesn't want to pay high taxes. I certainly don't. But I've never heard people turn on the school system like they do in this town. And I find it so disheartening, especially as a superintendent. There was a prevalent mistrust between the town and the school department when I came, which caused great division. Even the budgets at that time were separated, almost intentionally pitting one against the other. Thanks to Amy St. Ange, the members of the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, and the Board of Ed, all working together, we all have a common vision for the town. In 2017, we were classified as an alliance district. We were one of 33 of the lowest performing districts in the state. In 2021, in the height of the pandemic, we were classified as an opportunity district, placing us in the low 10 districts. Our company is Hartford and Bridgeport and those large urban districts. You can see that the significant shifts in our student demographics with a very transient school population are really the reason why additional supports are needed in our schools, and that we're faced with this disturbing situation this year. I honestly only wish that folks had listened to myself and the members of the Board of Education over the past 6 years and tried to alert you that we were going to come to this day where we're trying to balance a budget with funds that we can't cover anymore. So we've done our best by adding programs, and I think Chairman Herbert talked about the Bradley program, the transition program, thanks to Christopher Jones and his staff. We've cost avoided millions of dollars. We've used grants and looked everywhere to enhance programs without adding more to the budget. I acknowledge that our per pupil costs are high within our region. However, simply dividing a budget by the number of students is not a good indicator of how the dollars are spent, right? Less kids, the per pupil cost is going to be higher. Each special ed, 504, Title I, ELL, and homeless student have an additional cost associated with their learning plans, and that's on top of the general education portion. So as a result, no two districts per pupil amount can really be compared. It depends on the services each student needs. Education is, after all, a human service industry. Our people assisting our students make up 80% of the DOE budget. They're dedicated, hardworking, who remain in Thompson, not because of the pay, but because they know they make a difference in the lives of their students here. At the end of the day, any reduction to the DOE budget will directly impact services for kids. There's no doubt about it. And many of those are required by state and federal regulations. We are obligated to meet those needs. So I'm fearful, as I sit here in front of you, that we could be already facing a deficit in FY24 with a significant decrease to the DOE budget. And I want to bring that to your attention before we get into the meat of the budget. My folks are here, so if you have specific questions to their departments, they're happy to answer.
I was going to make a motion that we approve the education budget as presented, less even school budget thing. $5,000 because of the change in the assistant finance director. Is that fair?
It's up, Steve.
Fine, is that right?
That's right.
And an additional 48,000 due to the change in the healthcare cost estimate was lower by 48,000.
Right, so that would be the equivalent of the
2%.
$11,000 change that we made on the town side for the same concept,
Okay.
going from 12 to 10. Correct.
Right, and that's the same reason,
Right.
2% less, it's less than we expected. The total is $53,000 reduction from the budget as presented. And I would, my motion is that we approve school budget less than $53,000.
Motion has been made to approve the Board of Education budget as presented minus $53,000 for the previously mentioned line item. That's the motion. For a second.
I'll second it.
Larry's got the second. Any discussion on this motion?
If I might, I made the motion because I've attended every budget presentation that the school has gone through. I still don't know it as detailed as the faculty and staff that are here today, but I did observe all the Board of Education reviews of the budget, and they worked hard at it. And as a couple of them have said, they're taxpayers. They don't want to pay any more taxes than anybody else. They looked at the budget very carefully. They didn't want to waste any money. But I think the budget that they prepared was fair. It was well thought out. It's not wasting any money. It's not spending it on unneeded things. Our kids deserve it. Our kids deserve it. I call them my kids. I don't have any kids in the system. They're our kids. They deserve to be taken care of and educated properly. And we can't do less than that. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Any other discussion? Any other discussion?
It feels too early for me. I have a lot of questions. I wanted to go through a few items. I want to learn a little bit more. I unfortunately couldn't attend the meetings, Steve, so you're a
I
little
understand
further
that.
along the curve. It's not an indication of lack of support by any means. I think some of the, I love facts and data because they're accurate and it's different than opinion, and I think Superintendent Smith gave us a lot to think about, particularly around the Alliance District moving to an Opportunity District and some of the other figures. So it just feels a little early to me, Steve. I want to go through a few more things. I want to learn a little bit more. That's how I feel.
Motion's still on the table. Any other discussion? Any discussion?
I'll do it again.
Okay, no other discussion? So the motion's still on the table, so we're gonna take a vote on the motion as presented. That's to approve the school board less 53,000. Ready? So go around the table. Larry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rob? No. Dave? Steve?
Yes.
Rob? No. I'll vote no. So this one fails 4-2. So Larry voted yes, Steve voted yes, the rest voted no. Where to? Questions? People wanted to.
I had a couple of questions.
Go for it.
It's appropriate time to jump
Go for it.
in. My first question, and I'm gonna go over to you, Melinda, but if you need to bring in the backup
I'll bring
resources,
in the
you let me know. Inside of the COVID crisis and the COVID years, we've got some special funding coming in.
Mhm.
And that supported certain services and people.
Correct.
If I understood correctly, when we were on our kickoff, there's salaries included here that were covered before. Now they're being introduced into the budget. Do you know how many people that is and what the dollar value is?
Bill does, there were 4 positions. There was a media clerk, which is essential for book distribution. There was a math curriculum leader. What was the other one? Social worker at the high schools. And the 4th one was, grade 6 for class size reduction. And so what ended up happening last year, not that I want to open up Pandora's box, but for FY24, we would have had the money to cover those positions. However, we were running significant deficit in special ed last year, and we took 350,000 of the art money and plugged that deficit for fiscal year FY 23. So the money technically, for those positions would have carried us through this year. We would still hit the funding cliff next year, like many of our other districts are going to do, but that's what happened. We decided to plug the deficit for last year, so we used the grant money for that. And now we're out of money to fund those critical positions.
That's specific to those positions that were funded,
Right.
including those four. How many additional positions are added? And it looks through all the schools.
So the
It's hard to see because for me, it's bundled. I see the dollar increase.
There-
I don't know what that means in terms of people.
There are two. There is a student behavior coordinator at the high school and a math interventionist at the middle school, primarily to work with students, kind of like a reading specialist, to get up on math scores in grades 5 through 8. We are significantly underperforming in mathematics.
So total new. With 6 people,
Well,
2 plus the 4.
correct.
New funding.
We're refunding the pool. Right.
They're not new to the population, they're new to the burn rate.
New to the budget.
I understand. I said. Classified a little bit different.
So anything services, those 4 are critical. The other 2 are to assist with behavior concerns at the high school, through mental health and mathematics at the middle school.
Thank you.
Don't do any.
Can you describe this? I remember hearing about the number of days the high school principal was taking to address disciplinary problems current year versus the prior year. And it was, for me, very dramatic.
Dr. Mary, you want to talk about discipline?
2021, 2022 school year, we have 12 suspensions. Out of school this year, we have 72. So, my entire different day is dealing with this. I'm the only high school in all of Connecticut that did not have either new students or undisciplined. The entire state.
For me, that was sort of eye-opening. That really put in numbers behavioral issues. So help me understand and, to my mind, justify those kinds of changes. If he spends all his time worrying about a disciplinary issue, well, you can't do anything else.
Both have to report to the state. So we can't put any offense in place like that.
You still open the list? I don't have anything to take it.
I guess when I went through, there were a lot of large adjustments tied to salary. When I see a nominal percent, that would indicate a salary adjustment. When you see a step up, it would seem to indicate added positions. That's why I asked the question.
Go on to see
Yeah, I can come back.
anyone with questions. About certain areas. Of this budget.
Maybe I did, because I knew about the 2 things that were going to go down, the health insurance and the financial assistance, whatever it is for their role, that line item. Were there things that went the other directions that I didn't know? Maybe that's, because again, I only heard about those two things, which would have indicated a lower spending, but there may be other issues that help lower the potential cost or the other direction. I mean, I'd like to hear both sides of it.
Came in.
Right around where we expected, so there wasn't a workers' comp change.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we were kind of hoping maybe we'd see a similar, upside, as we didn't help, but not the case, unfortunately.
Again, I just happen to know about those two things. I didn't know others. So I'd like to, wanted to ask the question.
And the other thing to note is that over the years, special education wasn't appropriately budgeted, right? It wasn't funded appropriately, and we're spending wrong. And so that's where the deficit ends up happening every year. Not because our special ed department isn't doing a great job. It's just that more students come in with need and specific learning resources, and we have no way of predicting who's going to move in. So we budget at the time for the students that we have, and then things change. It has, Dr. Jones and his team are working hard to keep more of our students in district so that those numbers don't get out of control. However, we're not really reaping, because as soon as we start to see that out of district number go down, somebody moves in.
Anyone else? Thoughts? Questions, concerns?
If we're going to adjust the budget, we need to talk about one way or the other. Let's talk about the reason why. Let's just not sit here about no on it. If that's what you guys are thinking, I don't know what you're thinking. We should talk to us. What do you want to do? And if you have a reason for why the budget should be one way or the other, please tell us. Tell me,
Okay, I'll talk first.
please.
What I say isn't going to surprise anyone, because this is usually where I sort of draw my thinking from, is I look at them. And I know there's people who say, don't look at it this way, and I understand, but I do look at it this way. I look at the overall proposed mill rate increase. Now, when we finished off last week, we were at 2.95. I think that's what this document says, but now we've just put 200 back in, so I don't know where we are now, but I'm sure we're north of 3 now.
Plus 0.26.
3.21.
So we're back to 3 point something. It's personally more than I'm going to vote for, and that probably won't shock anyone at this table. Because I feel like the Board of Finance, it represents our democracy, our form of government in this country. We have checks and balances, right? Federal level, you got 3 branches, they check and balance each other out. And I feel like the Board of Finance is sort of like a municipal check and balance. So that's why I usually look at the proposed mill rate increase from the perspective of, or maybe I should say, I look at my role as a Board of Finance member, that no matter what I'm gonna do, somebody's not gonna be happy with me. Right? If I vote for more, then somebody who's on fixed income, doesn't have a lot of resources, may not be happy with me. If I vote for less, someone who wants to do more may not be happy with me. But I do philosophically approach my role from the perspective of the Board of Finance as a check and balance. That's all. And 2.95, 3 point, whatever it is, that's much more than anything I've ever voted for. It's much more than anything that I sort of, in my own mind, I kind of draw my own line as to where how far I'm willing to go in any given year. Because I try to, at least in terms of what I'm willing to go for, I'm just one person. I try to stagger that out so that the increase over time is not drastic, It's not, so coming back to that person who's on a fixed income, most of their income is coming from social security, their mortgage is paid off, but groceries and transportation and property taxes and homeowner insurance and home heating fuel, that person is absolutely feeling those expenses. When I think of that person, I'm trying to at least stretch out the impact to that person and people like them, stretch it out over time, so that there isn't a significant bump, so that they don't get a tax bill in the coming fiscal year. And kind of, they're at a loss to imagine where that's gonna come from. Maybe I just won't pay my taxes. Maybe I'll just get a tax lien on my home. Maybe my children will bail me out. I don't know. I try to stagger it out so that those people, they're not overwhelmed. I also understand on the other side, there are a lot of people here who shared their comments at the beginning of the season, either by email or in person. And so where's the balance? For me personally, the balance, at least for me personally, the balance is not premiums. For me, that's an out of balance. Where's the balance for me? I think at the beginning of the budget season, I said, I feel like I'm kind of my line of sight would be along the lines of 1 mil. If we can get it below 1 mil, that'd be great. I'm not sure we can achieve that this year. For whatever reason, it just doesn't, and because inflation is starting to find its way in to not just goods but services, it's made its way throughout the economy. It just feels like getting below 1 mil isn't going to happen this year. At least that's just my personal feeling. So at least that's where I'm coming. And I know some people may feel like my coming at this from a sort of mile high view is too far away from the details. I totally get that. The criticism is you're talking from up here, but what about down here? I get it. But this is the mile high view that's the perspective that I've always brought. So that by the time the last vote goes out, at least for that first try, right? For that first referendum. If it comes back, then we have to try and do more. And of course, if it comes back a second time, and some of us have been on this board when it's come back a second, third, fourth time. In 2019, it took 5 referendums to get there. And so once you get into that third and fourth try, you're on defense now. And now you're just trying to do whatever it takes to get it together. But on that first one, to send it out, I try to find the balance. And so again, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I come at it from that sort of mile high view. In terms of what is it that I'm willing to say yes to? How much of a tax burden am I willing to assign, not only to the people in the room who have said, yes, we want to do more taxes, we want to do more programs, but also to the person who may not be here tonight, that person who is mostly Social Security, fixed income. How much am I willing to assign to that person too? Not easy. Like I said, I'm a bad guy to somebody. I'm always a bad guy to somebody. So that's why I take that sort of line. That's just my personal thoughts. Pardon any repetition, but as I just sort of stream of consciousness here, I'm just trying to explain from the perspective of knowing that there are people who are here hearing me talk, and they might be disappointed that I'm speaking from a mile high and I'm not speaking from down on the floor. I get that. I understand the big disappointment. It's just where I'm coming from. Any other thoughts?
Let's talk about a fixed income person.
Yeah.
Why does Social Security go up this year?
I don't know.
8.7%.
Right.
I looked at the Social Security over the last, I think it was 6 years. That's just the data I happen to have, went back that far. Social Security has grown far more than the school budget has. Far more. So I hear the fixed income and I absolutely appreciate that. But I can't stop our schools from functioning and doing a good job. So again, if we think about, I've heard this argument, fixed income, and I understand it and appreciate that. But don't overstate what the issue is here. People on Social Security have had a bigger increase than the school has over the last 6 or 7 years, including this potential coming year. So it's not as if Social Security got a 2% raise or a 1% raise this year, almost none. So it's not as if, again, I sympathize with everybody who has trouble meeting, paying their bills. But the school still needs its funding, and they haven't even matched Social Security over the last 6 or 7 years.
Aaron?
Go ahead.
When I served 18 years on this board. And I was asked to run again, and in that process, I was asked a little bit about, I suppose, my beliefs. In the 18 years that I served on the board, I always tried to balance the town budget with the school budget and also with the taxpayer of this community. I hold all three equally. This is what I said then. They chose me to run for this position. Fortunately, or unfortunately, I was elected. And now I'm in my 20th year. I still hold that. Initially, when we met, I think I, as Aaron, thought a 1 mil increase was sufficient. At this point in time, after spending hours going over all budgets, including the education budget, which I've done on my own, I find that I think we have to present to the community a budget which is higher, nowhere near what is being requested. I am willing to accept an increase in the education budget of 5%. I think anything more than that does not stand a chance in this community. I've heard a lot of people here speak to the benefits of the school department. I appreciate your concerns. But I also feel that what is happening is a degree of management and how money is allotted. I will say no more than that. So as we move forward, as I said earlier, I would be willing to go 5%, but that's probably as high as I can bend. I don't think that'll pass.
And that's about half of what the request is.
A little more than that. It's almost $1 million.
I hear you.
And I think if you go back 20 years, probably 28 years, since I wasn't on the board for 8 years, you will never see an increase like that.
That may be, but again, Social Security, which is measured, which used the cost of living to adjust.
It's a percent, Steve, but a percent of what?
Of the prior year.
2,000 a month?
Of the prior year.
Yeah.
It's a cost of living
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, but
It's going to
add it up,
8.7.
as Rob said earlier. What the person on the low end gets versus what the person on the high end gets is very different. I don't care if it's 5%, 6%, 7%. There's a marked difference in what you're receiving at that level. Your cost for fuel has gone up. Your cost for gas has gone up. Your cost for food has gone up. All these people are experiencing all of those costs. And they have to be taken into consideration.
So what
Otherwise, we're going to move them out of this town.
Just like our teachers.
So what I want to do is I want to remind anyone who's not a member of the Board of Finance in this room right now, please remain silent. If you haven't been recognized and you speak, you're out of order. This is a discussion among members of the Board of Finance. If we need additional information from the superintendent or the principals or directors, we'll ask, we'll get information. The question was posed, perhaps by myself, perhaps by a Board of Finance member a few moments ago. I don't recall who asked it, but what are people thinking, right? So personally, I feel like the reason why it's taken us until, I don't even have my phone, let's say April 17th, to even begin talking about this, is because everybody knows that as soon as you begin talking about it, temperatures rise, invoices raise, and people feel uncomfortable. And people feel like no matter what your position is, unless it's a certain place, then it's somehow disappointing. Somehow frustrating. Okay, I understand. But I think that's why people wait. That's why we wait until April 17th to start talking about it. It's sort of like the inevitable. You know, sometime between now and the last meeting, we have to discuss this, and that temperatures are gonna rise and tensions are gonna. So I want to keep this to, if someone feels a certain way, they feel a certain way. They go ahead, they let the others know. And I suspect, and I may be proven wrong, but I suspect that when each one of us tells the other five how we feel, that no one at this table will be truly surprised that that person feels that way. I think I know you guys all well enough to kind of have a sense of how you feel about some of these issues that we discussed. We've sat around this table, good friends for years. So I just want to keep it in that spirit. That's all. Just want to keep it in that spirit. Let's go ahead, keep discussing it. But can we discuss it in a way that if someone takes a viewpoint that may not be popular, they don't have to feel like they're a bad guy for expressing that view. That's all. Let's keep going.
I'd be happy to weigh in. We call that respectful debate, right? And I think debate is healthy because it allows us to. I've said this before in other meetings, it allows us to get insights into other people's point of view, and we're all different. We all see things differently, we process things differently. This is my fourth cycle. The first cycle, if you guys recall, Lamont said, you'll peg the rate, you'll peg the mill rate as a board. It didn't go to the next two passed. So I haven't lived the 2017 as a board member, 2017, 2018, 2019 cycle after cycle. I can only imagine what that was like going to 5 referendums. I sit here not as with my own viewpoint. I try to take my own experiences and bring them to the board in terms of how I analytically look at things and study things, but I really try my hardest to represent the people of the town. And it's a difficult thing to do, but I take off my personal cap of what I like, what I use in town. I might like roads, someone else likes the library, try to park that at the door and try to be a representation to the voters of the town. And this year, absolutely, I'm not speaking of 20 cycles, you've got 12, a lot of people have more cycles than me. I'm on my 4th cycle. This feels dramatically different. We went through the COVID years, the post-COVID years. There was a lot of angst around spending, but people were losing their jobs, and there's a lot of bad things happening. Today, there are still people hurting, but people are experiencing wage increases. People are experiencing, as you rightfully said, Steve, Social Security increases and other increases. Do I think that that's pacing enough to offset the cost when you go to the grocery store? It probably isn't. People are still struggling to get up to just stay at the same level that they were at. Having said all that, and I'll say one other comment. When the referendum went forward for the school track and for the school security and for a $13 million HVAC, if you had asked me, I would have said, absolutely, there's no way that's going to pass. The voters are going to knock that down 8 to 10. There'll be eight no's to 2 yeses, and it passed. So that's a voice. Folks have come here talking. There's a voices. Folks on the chat line, I mean on the Zoom line, and all the emails that we've gotten. It's 9 to 1. You know, there's 9 supports to 1. It's got to be like it was in my last 3 or 4 cycles. So I hear kind of the alignment around the 1 mil and kind of where you are, Steve, and where others are. I think it's a different day. I think the town would support something closer to 3. I kind of like being at the 297. Just psychologically, it was under 3. Now we're up to 326. I think the town would support that, and I personally would rather underclub it and come back here again and have to do more work than drill it down so low because we think it's that low and it passes, and everybody that votes yes says it's not enough, but I'm going to vote yes for it. I'd rather be on the wrong side of wrong and be high and have to go back through another cycle. What does that mean for for the Board of Ed? 9.5 is a lot. It's a big number compared to prior years. And I got off track. I also want to look at this over a continuum. We can't look at it as a 1 year kind of vacuum. We got to look at what's been happening in subsequent years leading up to today. And what's been happening in subsequent years is very modest increases for the right reasons in those years. So I'm leaning more toward seeing where the people giving the people an opportunity to speak and not cutting quite as severely as we have in my last 3 cycles. This is my 4th. I'm not answering the direct question, but I would think 5 is far too low. I had written a couple of models that I did, and one was at 8 and one was at 7%. And in that neighborhood, it's higher than inflation. I view it as, let's get at least to an inflationary period. Let's add something on top of that to make up for the years past where the numbers were really low. I don't have a final answer, but my viewpoint is something around 7-8% versus the 9.5. But that means we have to go back to the down budget again. We can go back and revisit that. And lastly, and again, I mentioned it, but I think somewhere around that 3 mil, it's a little over 10% on the 25 mil rate. I feel would feel about right. And both Dave and Aaron used the word balance. That feels like about the right balance this cycle.
Option. Just because we're welcoming thoughts doesn't mean everybody has to speak. It's option. Another question.
But I give it to them one of them.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. If this were taken down to the lowest that we can, right? What happens with the school? The money that you're saying now is what the school needs, right? To run that, the school and to give the kids. So as we drop, there's gonna be things that you can't do. Would that be right?
Well, we're not gonna actually fund special ed. That's like right out of the chute. We're gonna be in deficit in that line. Because we're trying to balance that. Then obviously, the next thing we start to look at, right, is the extra positions that we put in. And then we start to look at class sizes. Our class sizes are already at 22 to 25, depending on the class. Raising class sizes is going to have a devastating impact, primarily because we can barely manage the mental health issues we have in a class size of 22. Well, let's now add in, but it becomes a staffing issue. And we're already at bare bones. We heard Dr. Mayo say there's no assistant principal. In 2020 during the COVID pandemic, we got rid of 3 admin positions because we wanted to spare teaching positions. So if you ask me, the first thing would be we're going to run deficit special ed. That's a given, because we won't be able to appropriately fund it. And then we're going to have to look at positions, and then it will directly impact kids.
So I try to look at it that way. What are you gonna do? You're gonna lose us, people. You won't have enough to do the right thing, what you've been doing. And why are we sending the kids there? My whole thing is you're sending them so they get come out of that high school and they can be something in their life. If we keep taking away, the way I look at it, then they're not getting what they should be getting. Would that be right?
That'd be correct.
Okay. I mean, you know, sure, I mean, can I afford to do this? Since my wife died, the money's down, and I'm not the only one in this town, and I understand that. But I also look at my grandkids. Okay, I want them to be better than what we were. I'm not asking that we're gonna give you more than whatever, but I think we gotta give you enough, and maybe a little bit more, because you're so, obviously, what you said, there are some people that you would like to bring in, but you don't have one to be ready. So let's look at it that way. And I've been on this board way before these people. Well, you were on it for a long time. We had battles. I mean, we had battles. I'm talking going out into the chasing people, but they were chasing us. But anyway, they wouldn't hit me. I was calmed down. Then it wouldn't hit me, and I would go laughing at them because they, you know, they, oh, Larry, that didn't happen. But I think we got to look at that as to not just the money. If you don't, I mean, I don't know. If you don't have the money to, you got a flat tire, you're gonna try to get the money for something to get that car running, otherwise you won't.
I think over the 6 years that I've been here, I think the more staggering impact is the shift in demographics and the need that the students are coming to us with, which is above and beyond just the general ed per pupil costs. It's students that can't read at grade level, and those aren't even identified special ed kids. Those are just kids that are caught between the cracks, trying to address those needs. The fact that we're providing English language learner services for the first time starting last year is something new to this community. So we're seeing a big shift. And with that, you know, throwing money at a problem doesn't always correct the problem. The problem was that were bare bones with resources to begin with. And then we have this compounded need, and it's just not catching up.
And I understand that. I wasn't there, I was at the school around the Christmas time. And I hadn't been in that school for a long time. And I couldn't believe that some of the children that you have to take care of, that when my kids were going to school, they didn't take care of them. And that cost. So when we do, and I know the people out there, and I pay the tax, my taxes here. There are others that have, it's just the money and not about helping someone. And I'm sorry, that's the way I feel. And I don't like to leave my money to everybody. But I also look at those kids. You want those kids that I saw to hopefully come up so that they can get a job. And that, I mean, I just, when I went through there and I saw other kids, some of these little kids that you have to take care of. And that's important. If everybody here went through there and looked at what some of them, yeah, maybe they have a different. I'm not saying they should, but that's the way I am, and that's my way. Find out, what is this? Where are we going with it? And when I see some of those kids, I'm saying, and in the last 10 years, that has changed more, that we have to take care of kids as the poor. When my kid, it wasn't like that. You know, it's too bad. It really, really is. So I just wanted to say that because if we go down, get too far, what are you going to do and how are you going to do it? I think we got to look at. I got to look at it.
I'm at a loss at this point because we have been operating on, you know, just what we need. But I will tell you that it will impact special ed services and it will have a direct impact on students. There's just no doubt about it. There's nothing else left. I've been here 6 years. I've made all those reductions along the way, right? Where there were little places that you might be able to reduce. Well, we've already done that. And so we're at a point now where there's the need and we need the resources to go with it.
And that's the money is to do things right so the kids come through that school and can go somewhere. So if you're taking the money away, they're not getting, you know, you can say what you want about it, but the way I feel is that they won't be getting what they should be getting sooner or later through school. So I'm not saying that we're going to give you $1 zillion. Right, because then I'd have to move out of town. But, you know, you gotta look at it as, right now, we're looking at money. We're looking at money. But let's look at the kids. Let's look at what the hell's coming through also. That's all. Thank you, President. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? Even if you've already gone, you can
Maybe ask the administrative and principals here or in the audience to, if they have something to say. It's nice of them to come and maybe give them a voice,
principals,
if they want to.
the invitation is there. Your friend.
Sure, I would love to. say something. You know, this is my second year in Thompson. I've worked in 3 other districts and, these kids deserve the best and they're such good kids, but I will tell you, they are definitely in need. We didn't ask anything that we just can't do without. You say, you know, our investment is these kids. You want them to be able to leave our middle school and go to our high school to have to have programs that will sustain them a living. They need these skills. They need the math skills. We are still in deficit with our skills. Obviously, many districts throughout the nation have hit, you know, COVID. Everyone is behind, you know, but we're even behind. You know, and I have to say, our team has been working diligently to just start making gains, you know, and that you can't just stop something that we're finally starting to do. It's not fair to these kids. They have every right to get a good education. As taxpayers, I would think, as a mom of 3 kids, as a taxpayer myself, you know, the most important thing is to invest in the education system, because if you invest in the education system, you're investing in property, you're investing for families to stay here and want to be part of a community. How are we going to keep this community alive and wanting families to remain? It's beautiful here. I was in, you know, Woonsocket in the past and North Providence and came here. It is a beautiful place. I would think that we would want to give our kids what they deserve, and they deserve a good education so they can sustain a living and bring back to you. We're all getting older, right? So when you remain here, those kiddos are going to come back, be in the community and give back to you someday. And that's the turnover that we want. And we can't do it by cutting teachers. Our teachers, and I ask any one of you, come and spend the day with me. I challenge you to come and spend the day with me and see the lives that we're touching day after day after day. And above and beyond that, how teachers give from their pockets that you don't even see, that we do above and beyond every day. I challenge you to come spend the day and make your decision. Thank you.
Any other principal?
I would just say that, being a long-term administrator in Massachusetts, we're aware of Massachusetts raised their MCAS standards. So the influx of special ed just beginning. You're right next to Webster, you're next to Southbridge, is very different than I thought something. Very diverse. You're about to see a lot more ELL and special ed kids coming up. Just the way it is. Can't pass MCAS. Can't get a diploma in the state of Massachusetts. But in Connecticut, you don't have that. I see a collective of people coming over that line, taking an apartment. You get to these, it's, you can fight this as long as you want, it's coming, it's coming. So that's kind of what you're, unfortunately, what you have to face. But those kids also need, even though they come from Massachusetts, they need support. You know, so I mean, I would just be cognizant of that this is just the first influx of people. But in Massachusetts just passed their higher standard for MCAS, you see a lot.
Help me out, what's ELL?
English language learning, I guess, so the fact that we now are starting to see, we need to start providing for your learners.
Which is a state law, by the way. We can't just not give them services that off the top, that just comes right off the top. So
Principal?
Yeah, they just stole my thunder. So I've been in the community now teaching here. I think this is my 25th year. I will say the demographics have changed. There's no doubt about it. The demographics, the population has changed. Been blessed to be a part of it. Like Mr. Gillette had stated, went into the elementary school in December. I would challenge you, as Mrs. Granado also said, take a walk around the halls, take a walk in the classrooms. You would be absolutely amazed at what these teachers do on a daily basis. And with I mean, talking about the demographics, we got kids that speak Arabic, Portuguese, Spanish. We have a legal obligation and an ethical obligation to make sure they succeed in school. I mean, that's just a sliver of what's going on a day-to-day basis. I mean, the demographics have changed. We have to change how we perceive how we fund the schools as well. Grab that.
You're right. You're right. It was never that way when my kids were growing up and going there. You had much fewer kids that are there that have problems. And it was taken care of. I mean, even the sports have changed. Now, this high school was famous with the basketball and the baseball, and now find out what, geez, you gotta find somebody to take the girls, to do the
Well,
girls.
you know, many of you, right, when your kids were growing up, you had 2-parent households. Your kids came home, you ate dinner around the table, you read to them, you played with them, you spent time with them. There are many families that are not.
Oh, I
they're
know
not
that,
Going home to parents like that.
yeah.
And I mean, that just puts more burden and stress on the teachers. It's just-
You're right there.
The world has changed. The schools as you know it, 30 years, they don't exist anymore. That's not a reality.
Yeah, and I think Larry, just the call to the Department of Children and Family Services. I mean, I can't tell you how often we're making calls to put in reports that kids are in danger. And that is the truth. And Chris and I have come the same educational pathway. And we often talk about the intensity of services for the students that are here, even though the population is smaller. The intensity of services and the issues that the families are seeing are definitely staggering. Many more calls to the Department of Children and Families from this district than we've experienced in our other two. So it is a proven fact that the northeast corner of Connecticut does have that issue with child abuse and keeping kids safe. So when you pull all that together, that's where all those resources come into play.
Yeah, I don't think that's only me, that the people in this town that are against it, I don't see them going to find out what is it that they're doing up there, what isn't that they're doing up there. It's just like, I guess, just about the money. But I don't know, to me, it's not like, well, nothing's like when I was younger or when my kids were younger, but it's changed. When I went up there to see what I saw, I'm saying, I can't believe this. You know,
It's changed in the past 3 years,
Mm.
just something I've never experienced in 40+ years.
Right.
So that's where those extra resources.
so thank you.
Thank you. I looked it up earlier and I just re-looked it up. You know, folks were talking Opportunity District. This is who Thompson's grouped with. Bridgeport, Hartford, Manchester, New Britain, New Haven, New London, Norwich, Waterbury, Wyndham, and Thompson. It's all the inner cities, largest populated areas.
We're the only rural one in that category.
Just,
Only.
yeah.
So that was sent to us in a letter, one of the letters that was sent to us.
Just as a
It
reminder,
just
not
brings
a
to mind
place you
the
wanna be.
letters we got, the letters that bothered me the most were the letters from parents who said, when they told their friends they're going to Thompson, and they got the, oh, geez, too bad. We don't. know that. They should think that, I wish they would think they were lucky, not disadvantaged. Take a look at Zillow, a real estate firm online. They rank schools from 0, I think it's 1 to 10. We have a 2. We have a 2. You wanna buy a house, you're gonna go, if you have kids, you're gonna go to a district, it's got a 2.
Any other thoughts?
On the upside, we did make increases last year in our test scores.
Sorry, yes, I don't mean to say it's bad. I'm sure Zillow hasn't caught out, no offense.
Any other thoughts, any questions? Any motions? Any motions?
I'll make mine again if that's acceptable. And we approve the school budget as presented, less $53,000.
Motion's been made to approve the school budget list of $53,000. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
So Steve has the motion. Larry has a second. As a reminder, this is a motion to approve the school budget as presented, essentially, but with less $53,000 for the previously mentioned items. Discussion on the motion. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion on the motion? None? Right, we'll go around the table. All right, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rob Man,
No.
Dave,
No.
Steve,
Yes.
Rob Woods.
No.
I'll vote no. This one fails 4-2. Any other motions? Any other discussion? Any other thoughts? Any other questions? Any other concerns? All right. Let me get out my calculator. Okay. You've mentioned something about 5%.
Well, I'll toss it out as a motion.
Nope, I'm just saying, I'm looking at FY 23 revised budget, right? FY 23 revised budget, 19,773,192. That's the number we're looking, that's.
Yeah,
the number we're dealing with.
Yes.
Okay. I multiply that number by 1.05. That gets me 20,761,852, if you round it.
Right.
20,761,852. So I will make a motion that we reduce the education budget to that number that I just read, $20,761,851. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I will second the motion.
Okay. The motion's been made and seconded. That's the motion. Is there discussion on this motion?
So 5% increase is what you're suggesting?
That would be a 5%. 5%. Go ahead, Bob.
No, I was gonna clarify that. Thank you, Steve.
That amounts to approximately a $990,000 increase. I believe, Mary. Approximately. Slightly less than that.
Sounds
I'll
about
do
right.
that now. It's the 27,61,852.
So that's a reduction, how much in terms of dollars?
$899,631.
900,000 basically. How many teachers are gonna fire for that?
Any
You got it.
discussion on this?
Did you guys look at the survey?
Mhm.
It supported the budget or more than what was presented, not less. The survey of our citizens, I know there were almost 500 people responded. And what was it, almost 70, so it was almost 70%. Wanted at least what they got or more. And we want to cut it because why? Kids deserve more than what you're proposing. Essentially $900,000 cut is how many teachers? That's an answer. That's insane. I was lucky. I could send my kids to private school. My kids weren't in the district anyway. I could send my kids to private school. They had that opportunity. I was lucky, or they were lucky. Most children in our town don't have that option. Don't do this to these children. If there's something in the budget that's wrong, it's overspending, it's inappropriate, say what it is. Approaching this from a purely mathematical viewpoint. And I'm a math guy. Don't do that. Don't do budgets that way. Successful businesses don't run that way.
Any other discussion? Anything else? No, we'll go on the table.
Just one comment.
Yeah,
If this is the proposal,
Anybody else wants to talk? All right.
if this is the proposal, expect no votes on the budget because it's not enough. Don't assume that the budget fails, it's because it's too high. People are gonna vote no if you propose this budget goes to the town. It is too low. Kids deserve better. It's a shame.
Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, we'll take a vote. So if there's any other discussion. Going once, going twice. Okay. We'll go around the table. This is for 20,761,852, right? Okay, so we're on the table. Larry?
No.
Yes. Rob Mann? Dave?
Yes.
Steve?
No.
Rob Woods?
I vote no.
I'll vote yes, so this is deadlock, 3-3. It's a deadlock, it's 3-3. Did you catch who voted which way? Okay. Where to?
I'd like to make a motion. And that would be that we reduce the $1.888 million increase by $307,000. 53,000 of it has been identified. That would put a $250,000 challenge of sorts or an issue of sorts for the school. They would have to work within a $250,000 less than what they asked for. And it would reflect an 8% increase over the current year. So the reduction is down to a $1.581 million increase versus a $1.88 million increase. So it's a 307 reduction.
All right, so I'm gonna start off with the request, which is 21,661,483, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Minus 307.
Okay, so the motion is to reduce $307,000 from the education budget minus 307,000. And what that does is it delivers a budget of 21,354,483. So I'll repeat that for the secretary, 21,354,483. Is that consistent with what the finance director has? Yes. Okay, that's that's the motion. Is there a second? There's a second to the motion. I'll second the motion. So the motion's been made by Rob Wurge and seconded by Aaron McGarrett. Okay, discussion of this motion.
Yeah, I want to jump in because I made the motion. It would draw us to about a 0.39 reduction on the 3.21 that we're currently sitting at. So we'd be putting to the people a 2.82 mil increase, which is still significant, but back to balance. I think that feels balanced given the year that we're having and the voices that we've heard. There's folks at the table here that want a 9.5% increase, and they're passionate about it. There's people here that want far less and they're passionate about it. I made the motion to try to find a compromise, something that, I'm not saying 250,000 is not a lot, it's gonna hurt somewhere. But $1.58 million increase is still a significant increase. I think it will help move the needle. So the idea and the effort was to just come up with a balance, something that we can come forward with as a group, go to the town, we'll hear from the town people. That's all.
Okay, any other discussion?
What is the percentage increase?
8%.
Social Security went up 8.7.
I realize, Steve, and I know you want 9.5, you could be your,
Oh, I appreciate the attempt to compromise. Don't get me wrong. I really do.
So
But 8.7,
it's trailing Social Security. I recognize that. I think there's a lot of good in it too. So 9.5 got shot down and a few others got shot down. It's intended to be a compromise.
that's the second best I've heard.
It's the best I've heard.
Any other
Mine
discussion?
figured out.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Personally, I'm in favor of it. Not because it gets where I want, but because it goes in the direction of where I want. It goes in the direction. Goes in that direction. Between now and the close of business tomorrow night, if there's an opportunity to go further than this, I would go. I would go further than that.
What's further mean?
Further than this.
Up, down, what do you?
Down, further than this. There's an opportunity to go further than this, I would go further. But I'm not gonna say no to this simply because it doesn't do exactly what I want. It moves in a direction that I'm looking to go. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Last chance. Okay, we'll go around the table. All right, how do you vote?
No.
Man.
Yes.
Dave,
No. No.
Steve.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. I lost track. Is that 3 to 3?
It's 3 to 3.
Okay. Dottie, did you catch who voted with Greg? Thank you. You did a better job with us tonight.
I appreciate the attempt to reach a compromise, but
I think it's all about compromise and I'm not disappointed because I made the motion to carry it through, but I'm disappointed that we're anchored on these bookends. That's not gonna move that's not gonna move the needle. I thought it was a very thoughtful compromise where it dropped some level of spending, but not so much that it was getting to bone. And I'm disappointed. Because I'm disappointed because it tells me that some are only gonna go if we go higher and some are only gonna go if we're going lower. So we're gonna be here 3 for a long time. If the middle isn't something that we can get to together.
appreciate that.
That's why I said I'm in favor of it. It's not because it's where I want to be, but because it moves in that direction. And that if there's an opportunity to go further before close of business tomorrow night, I'll go there. My sense is that opportunity probably will not happen. But I'm at least willing to move in a direction that I gets closer, at least start to move in the direction that I would go if I could. That's all. I'm sure many people have many impressions of what the definition of compromise is, but I would suspect, or at least I would nominate the possibility that what I just described kind of falls under the umbrella of compromise. Kind of. Maybe not everybody would agree with me, but I would suggest that it kind of. I feel like, and I've said this before, usually at the end of the budget season, is compromises that form of government when nobody gets exactly what they want. Nobody gets exactly what they want. So, where to? Another motion?
Adjourn.
Not necessarily.
I'm being sarcastic.
Not that I would entirely disagree with you. It's just, that's all.
Been driving all day, I think, so.
So yours was what, 8%?
Yep, 8% and, yeah.
Dave's is 5.
Dave was 5.
What's 8.7 give us?
No.
I picked that only because it happens to be the social security change. I thought it was magical.
So you want to get us, so it'll get us somewhere where you want to be, and it'll throw 2 other people out of the.
So what were your numbers again?
It was 8%, 1 point.
I just want to know the numbers.
What number, which one? There's lots.
It's not 8%. What was the numbers? What was the actual numbers that we gave?
The cut?
Gotta be
21,354,483. It was a $307,000 cut.
Okay,
307.
so,
53 identified, 250 to be determined.
so again, that was 21,354,483
354, 483,
for a reduction of
307,000.
307,000. Okay. I'm gonna make that motion right now. That's my motion. I'm putting it back on the table. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Okay. So the motion has now been put back on the table. Any discussion? Any thoughts? My feeling is, sorry, you already know, you've already heard me say this. My feeling is, this doesn't get where I'd like to go. But at least it starts moving in that direction. And it may never get to where I'd like to go. It may never get there. But at least it starts moving in that direction. It may be that there's an opportunity between now and close of business tomorrow night to move further. Maybe not. If this goes out and it doesn't pass, then it comes back. That would present another opportunity. That's kind of how this works. Kind of how it works. Any discussion? Now that the motion is back on the table. And we've kind of had the
I'll
opportunity.
second it.
Oh, well, motion's
Oh, he
been,
seconded already.
motion's been made in second.
I'm sorry, I missed.
That's
Bob.
okay. Yeah, you made the motion. Rob Woods had the second. Any discussion? Any discussion?
I would add that those that think it's too much of a reduction, I would ask that they kind of view it from the 8% side, not that it's not 9.5. So it's a lot. It's still a very, very substantial increase. Again, I think we need to look at the last 4 years leading up to this, where the increases were. I don't have them all in front of me, they're buried in here, but they were very, very, very low. In terms of, keeping up with the mandatory kind of obligatory increases that were non-negotiable through contracts and other things. This is the first year where thank you, Rob. This is the first year where we're really funding the school at a different level than we have in the last few. 3.4 last year, 0.73 the year before, 1.54. I just say to the folks that think it's not enough, it's 8 versus 9.5. 8 is still a very substantial increase. It's not the 307 down, it's the $1.58 million.
Any other discussion?
I really appreciate your position. I understand what you're saying. It is a increase up. Better than we've seen in the past. But $40 million. $40 million, I'm sorry.
Significantly.
Yeah.
Like over 2x,
Right.
3x, 7x.
Yeah, but of course, the reason is because the prior years were disaster. Um, No, that's several teachers. That is really gonna hurt. I was kind of lucky. I got a chance to go to, what was it, story time? Is that what it was called? Bedtime story at the school. Where teachers and others would read stories to the kids. I guess the kids were elementary level kids. I also had the opportunity to go to a little discussion, I don't know what it was called exactly, where there was a discussion about how budgets are prepared at the town. And there are a number of students who participated, and I got a chance to sit down with some ninth graders. Wow, they're fantastic. But I just, how great they are. But we need the support. And they were talking, I mean, it was a great conversation. They were just fantastic. But they're in classes with 26 kids. That's not right. Not right. They're great kids and have potential to be fantastic citizens of our country. And we want to shortchange them.
Any other discussion?
So what was give me the final numbers.
Final number would be, they asked for 21,661,483, and this would be 21,354,483. They asked for a $1.88 million increase. This will provide a $1.581 million increase, $307,000 less than what was requested.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? If not, we'll go on the table. Let's change some of the discussion. Okay. We'll go on the table. Ready? Larry, how do you vote?
This is a tough one. I think we could go a little more.
You want
So no,
you want to talk more? Is that what you mean?
I mean,
When you say we could go a little more, do you mean talk more, discuss more? I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
no, dropping on the 21,354.
Meaning, just want to make sure I understand. When you say you think we can go a little more, do you mean?
A little less. Yeah.
So
That's
cut more.
Right, cut more.
Okay. Right now, the motion is,
I know that.
okay. So then we'll take a step back. We'll go back to discussion. If you want to, I was going around the table to do a vote. So if you want to, if you have discussion thoughts, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead with the thing. I'll just,
Okay.
this is mine.
Okay.
Tell
So then-
everybody else what they're doing.
So then what we'll do is everybody ready to vote on the motion? Is everybody ready to vote on the motion? We good? Go ahead. You have a thought?
Just, it's not a novel thought, it's what you said originally, which is we can. If we vote this now, we can reconsider. I mean, we have more time, we can. Look at it again tomorrow night. I'm not inclined to want to do more tomorrow night on it, but it's not that it's done. This is not the end of the season, of course.
Any other thoughts, any other discussion before we vote? Okay, we go on the table. I'll start with my left. Larry, how do you vote?
Oh.
You voted no?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Dave?
No.
Steve?
No.
Rob Lynch?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. It was a deadlock, wasn't it?
Same vote.
So.
That was
Groundhog
3-3.
Day was Groundhog Day.
Was it? Right.
6 cents.
Did it go down the same exact slope? Went down the same exact way. Okay. Should I go back and make that $79,000 appropriation for the fire companies again? Because that one didn't work. Remember that motion I made that no one second?
Why not? What was it?
That was the one that was, I thought was in the middle and then it didn't even get a second. Okay. All right. Do we need to sleep on this? Because if there's not enough votes to pass it the way it is,
I say no.
and there's not enough votes to pass it at 5%, and there's not enough votes to pass it at 8%. What's the number? So I just want to remind anyone who's here is not a member of the Board of Finance. If you've been recognized, you can speak. If you speak without being recognized, you are out of order.
Well, looking at,
How did you go? Did anybody do any math?
no,
And my usual thing is if anyone wants to have a discussion, you're welcome to go out in the hall, you're welcome to go out in the parking lot, no problem. I just want to remind everyone. This is a discussion on the Board of Finance. Just in case anyone was thinking of speaking out of turn. So where to? What's the number? We've tried 3 numbers and none of them have worked.
I think the divide has been people that want it to be higher than 8. If we go higher than 8, there's gonna be folks that were on the margin at 8 and they're gonna go the other way. If we go below 8 to say 5, we know that's not gonna work. There's gonna be other people on the margin the other way that are saying, I'm not willing to put a bigger challenge in front of the school. 250 is enough. We make that 450.
6.5.
Okay, so hold on a second.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I don't really want to adjourn.
You don't?
I mean, I do, in my heart of hearts, but
No.
I think staying longer will drive us to.
Well, give us time to think about it.
Shut my phone off.
So then here. I'm not in favor of adjourning either, but a motion has been made to adjourn. So I'll ask. Is there a second? Is there a second to the motion? Okay, motion does not have a motion does not have a second. Motion dies for lack of a second. Okay. So here's what else. Okay, so if I take 19773,192 and I multiply that by 1.07. 1.07. I'm not multiplying by 1.08. I'm multiplying it by 1.07. That gets me 21,157,315. That's 21,157,315 million. Does that sound about right, Finance Director?
yes,
And I don't know what the difference is.
504,000.
504,168, that's the reduction. The reduction is 504,168. So we've tried. So if anyone here is not a member of the Board of Finance and you speak without being recognized, you are out of order. I just want to remind you. So, just to remind members of the Board of Finance, we tried pass as is with 53,000 taken out, did not work. We tried 5%, that did not work. We tried 8%, that did not work. I'm gonna put out 7%. I'm gonna put out 7%. Just trying to find the number. Trying to find the number. And I'll remind people who are here, but not members of the Board of Finance, if you speak without being recognized, you're out of order. So that's my motion. I make that in the form of a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Rob Mann's got the second. Any discussion on this motion? Any discussion?
Once again, it's not what the citizens have told us. From comments, from letters, from the survey. Nobody wants that.
Do you have numbers on that?
Bill, is it the 21,157 and then the 504 right below it?
Correct.
You can just highlight those two. There we go. And that represents a 7% increase from the previous,
So you're cutting 500,000, 504.
roughly 500,000, specifically 504,168. That delivers a 7% increase over last year. Any discussion on the motion? I've made the motion. Rob made a second. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Any discussion?
I think it's too much
Too much of a,
reduction.
okay,
I think that the increase is still a giant number. It's almost $1.4 million. It's a big, big number. But I think it's. You take the 50,000 out, you're asking for a $450,000 reduction. It's gonna go straight to people. It's gonna go straight to heads.
any other discussion?
Point of view on it.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I didn't want
No,
to
you didn't.
prematurely, any other discussion?
Double down on that.
Okay, any other discussion? Any other discussion? Okay, if there's no other discussion, I'll take a vote. Is everybody okay with taking a vote? You ready to take a vote? I'll start with my left. Larry, how do you vote? No. Larry votes no. Rob Man?
Yes.
Eddie?
No,
Steve?
No.
Rob Word?
No.
I'll vote yes. This one fails, what, 42? Okay. Just bear with me. Hold on.
Gonna go 6.
Hold on.
Rob, I might reconsider yours. So we're going in the wrong direction.
That's what I was thinking.
Hold Hold on.
Remind me of Tin Cup. You seen the movie? Have you seen it?
Huh?
Have you seen the movie?
Did we
Tin-
just try
Tin Cup?
7%? Did we just try 7?
I'll have to look at it.
7%?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, it was,
hold on, everybody.
we had 5, we had 8, we had 7.
6, 5.
That's what I
Hold
said
on.
before, 6, 5. But
Just give us a.
when I came in, my phone was buzzing. Ready,
We
so
know
I just shut the thing.
Okay. Here's my motion. $21,256,181. That's a reduction of 405,302. And my handy calculator in my phone tells me that is a 7.5% increase year over year. So 8 didn't work. 9.5 didn't work. 7 didn't work. 5 didn't work. So maybe 7.5 will work. So that's my motion, 21,256, 181. That's a reduction of 405, 302. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Does somebody want to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, because I was going to ask it until midnight if nobody seconded. Discussion.
My mind was going the wrong way.
We just went up 0.5% from the last vote. Any other discussion? Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
if I may speak as an ex officio member. I've been thinking about the town's budget. I really hate to see the school lose out on anything else. So I would suggest maybe I mean, I don't know where you're gonna go with this. But first of all, we have $100,000 in a roof replacement that is not gonna cover the cost of a roof like a highway garage. It's just the starting point of what we're gonna probably need to do that roof. So potentially, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there and I hate to do it, but maybe you could take 50 and save us 50 for the fund. We also doubled up on the contingency, so we went from 37.5 to 75. So that could be another pocket of money. Just to help alleviate and hopefully so that you can come to some type of conclusion for this budget.
Thank
So
you.
that would be a total of 87,500.
Thank you.
Just a suggestion.
Thank you. Any other discussion? This is what's on the table, the motion that's on the table. I made the motion and Rob Ward seconded. is a 7.5% increase from last year. That would represent a reduction of 405,302 from the original request of 21,661,483. It's 7.5% increase from last year. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? There's no more discussion, we'll go on the table. So everybody go on the table, everybody, go on the table, vote. Okay. To begin. Start to my left. Larry, how do you vote? No. Bob Man.
Yes.
Dave.
No.
Steve. Rob Word.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That was 3-3. I'm glad people are keeping track because.
I'll make a motion again.
What's that?
Robbie wants to make a motion again.
I'll go with a 6.5.
I'll go with an 8.
I think my prior motion that's been made twice, I'll make it a third time. Reduce to 21,354, 483. Reduction of 307. And an increase of 1,581. Would be an 8% increase.
All right. So,
That doesn't look right.
no, hold on.
Thank you, Bill.
Does that look right to you now?
Looks right to me now.
Mhm.
Okay, so Dahlia, the motion is to reduce the original request by $307,000 so that the number now, if approved, would be 21,354,482. Okay. Discussion on the motion. Man, you are good. I will second that motion. Discussion on the motion. Discussion on the motion, discussion on the motion. Okay, if there's no discussion, we'll go around the table. So is everybody ready to go around the table? Unless there's any more discussion? Okay. As per usual, I'll start to my left. Larry?
No.
Okay, Rob Man?
Yes.
Dave?
No.
Steve?
Yes.
Rob Word?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. This one carries 42. This one carries 42. Okay. Any additional business to be conducted on the Board of Education? Okay. Any additional business to be covered in other parts of the budget, general government, capital improvement plan?
The other comment I'll make, if I could, Aaron, is that if this goes, when this goes to vote, if it comes back and it's rejected by the people, I'll alter my viewpoint at that point. So I think that it's now time for the people to tell us how they feel. That's up to you. Rob.
What's the bottom line, Bill?
I got a 2.82, but that's right. I could be off, Bill.
Yeah.
I go by your numbers now.
27.83, 2.81.
Now, that doesn't include Amy's suggestion.
No,
Correct.
Okay.
that does
That
not.
includes Hooper or no?
Yes, it does include the two.
Yes, and contingent.
Yes, it does.
No, it That includes the trooper.
It does.
It
All
does
right.
include the trooper.
Hold on, Finance Director. is-
Wait a minute.
243.
He's gonna.
Sounds
We added it.
No, it includes the trooper.
Well, he's
I
gonna.
made the
Yeah, you
motion.
should.
Yep.
No, I don't think he changed it.
85 will be added.
It'll say 240, if you didn't know.
We added it.
Okay.
It's in.
Yep. 10,
So
10.
we're down to that.
Oh. So, you mean on the education side?
Yeah.
We're down to 21. Yep. 047. 483. 21.
Yeah.
047, 483.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't think that's right.
A different number.
No, 21,354.
Oh, that's what.
Right, because I updated it. Yeah, 21,354, 483.
Correct.
Okay, then hold on just a second.
That's what we just.
Hold on just a second. Secretary of the board, could you please repeat that, the number that you wrote down that we just voted on?
I wrote down 21,354,483 reduction. of
Great.
7,000.
Thank you. So that's the number.
So the reduct, just so everyone, not any confusion, that the 21,354, 483, and cell BJ 754 has that reduction in it.
I got it. Okay,
Here.
it's revised.
Correct.
That's why it's under the revised. Okay.
Right.
And then, so the other question that we were kind of simultaneously trying to answer was, is the $200,000 for the trooper in this?
Yeah.
In the 2.81?
Yes.
Okay, great. So go ahead. You had a thought.
I had two questions. One, we moved the contingency from 37.5 to 75
Because largely because of the change in
Health.
methodology in budgeting for health.
and if one more employee came in or something moved there, family,
Unfortunately, that's all it would take is one
That's why
employee.
that's why we put that in.
Right.
And so that's question, comment A. Second, B, on the roof. We wanted some money in there, never intended to be in, we know it's not enough to do
Mhm.
many roofs, but if indeed there's matching funds available, we have funds to put on the table to go get more funds. So that's my concern about pushing. I appreciate the offer, Amy.
I was feeling desperate.
I know, I sense that.
Back.
I sense
No,
that.
no, that,
But that's my only concern on that. It'd be nice to
But-
have the 50,000 reduction, but if something comes forward and we can't,
if there's another day, Rob, I think we look at it, but today I'm not willing to look at those. The
I
Amy's
that's
suggestion.
kind of where I'm at. But two voices, there's more voices here.
We are coming about, we'll hear from the citizens. I'm not sure I fully understand, meaning that I think if it doesn't pass, it's because they think it's too high, or they think it's too low, or, well, I didn't understand what you were trying to say.
If it doesn't pass, my inclination would be that they're sending a message that the budget's too high.
Too high, you think it means it's too high?
Yeah, if it was at 9.5 and we come in at 8 and it doesn't pass, it's too high. If it was at 9.5 and we came in at 3, then I would say maybe you're on the opposite end of that, but it's so close to the requested. That if it was rejected off of that. I would be very surprised.
I guess my thought is hearing from some citizens anyway, that and seeing the survey that says it's what presented was what was needed as a minimum. I wouldn't necessarily read it that way. I mean, I have to read it any way you want, but just assuming that people voted down because it's too high. You might be right, but I think you can't be wrong.
That's my point of view.
That's what I wanted.
If there's any other discussion, I'll hold.
Oh, okay. I was gonna make a proposed adjustment to the general government budget.
Go ahead.
Okay. Now, Thursday night, I believe, and I'm not gonna try to hold myself to the actual play-by-play, but I think I proposed equalizing the 5 fire companies at 78. That failed, and I think Steve proposed 80,000, and that failed. And then I proposed 79,000, I got no seconds.
Sounds right.
Okay. So I'm gonna make a motion that we equalize the 5 fire companies at $79,000. It's my motion right now. That is, in my view, a compromise motion. So that's my motion, $79,000 for each of the 5 companies. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so a motion has been made and seconded to equalize the appropriation for the five fire companies to $79,000 each. And I'm gonna try to.
They were
fill out 80. I had an old spreadsheet. And it was on legal size. So.
Thank you.
Right now, Aaron, we're at 406,800
Divided each.
for all 5 departments at 81,360.
They're in there back, right?
Correct.
Okay, I got my notes from March 16. And the reason I'm saying 79,000 is because Thompson Hill asked for 78. Quinnebog asked for 78.8 or 78.9, so essentially 79. West Thompson asked for 80, East Thompson asked for 80, Community was the outlier, they asked for 90. So providing 79,000 means that two companies actually got what they wanted, if not more. Two companies got $1,000 less than what they asked for. So I can't imagine that they would be shocked if they didn't get exactly what they asked for. And then only one company was truly a statistical outlier. And of course, I can't speak on behalf of any of the companies, can I? But I'll just speculate that they probably wouldn't be shocked if they didn't get the request. And again, I can't speak on their behalf. This is just my speculation. So I feel like 79 is actually, I think, what did we do? We said 81 something because it was the average. Okay, well, there's two ways of statistically looking at something. One way is the average, and the other way is the median. The median is that half are above and half are below. The average is what happens when you got a bunch that are in a cluster, and then one that's way out here pulls the rest of them in a certain direction. I would suggest that 79,000 would be closer to the median, where half are above and half are below. And I just feel that that would be the compromise number. Just my thoughts. Any other discussion?
Yeah, go
Go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that equates to a 9.5% increase.
Okay.
Which is down from a 14.3% increase. It's 9.5 is more than what we're giving the Board of Education. And it's a hard topic because everybody wants good fire protection and the best volunteers and the best funded departments. We've averaged about 10% a year in my 4 cycles. I still think that's a healthy place for us to be with regard to the fire departments. In other words, it's lower than what they asked for. It's not so dramatically lower that we're changing their world. And therefore I would support a $78,000.
79.
78.
79.
is the motion.
No, 79.
Motion 79.
79. 78. Thank you.
Wishful thinking?
That was my motion.
That's right.
I'm done. Thank you.
And to your point, it's more than what two of them requested.
Right.
Now granted, Quinnebog requested like 78 or 79.9, so it's hardly can one claim that it's quote higher than what they requested, but it is technically higher than what they requested. It certainly meets their request and then some. And it's higher than what Thompson Hill requested.
And it's 11%, just to correct I said 9.5% because I was anchored on the wrong number. It's 11% increase.
So that means 79,000 for each is an 11% increase?
10.95, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on this motion?
Well, really, I sort of rethought our vote the other day. In some ways, giving somebody more than they asked for sounds a little surprising to me. Why would we want to do that? They asked for 78, we want to give them 79. So in some ways, I agree with you to lower those departments closer to what they get. But I guess I'd like to understand what the Board of Selectmen, they look at the budgets much closer. I didn't look at the individual departments. Why, they forwarded us we've got 2 members here, maybe the other one's on Zoom. What was their thinking? Did they want? They forwarded the request, I think, as presented to them, if I understand, and I may be wrong on that, but.
Last year, I think we wanted to present to you, and I'm speaking just for myself, but we wanted to present to what they asked for.
Okay.
So they could explain it. And last year, when we made reductions and we changed things up, you guys changed it back, so we kind of threw it back in your hands.
Okay,
So,
but.
would we have done
Touche.
things differently? We absolutely,
Touche.
we would have, well, at least I would have. I shouldn't speak for all 3 of us. I would have most likely reduced a couple of the requests. Personally, speaking for myself.
I think there was a little bit of frustration last year because we did have a logical reason why we were reducing one fire department. When it came to the Board of Finance, you evenly funded that, flat funded or evenly funded them with an increase. So I think this year we decided to send it forward and let you do your thing. You did
Screw you, figure it out.
suggestion last year. So, but I would agree with Amy that, we probably would have, considered funding them differently again this year. Not,
Differently than what you
not
did.
Differently than what they asked for.
But you
And-
put in what they asked for.
We put in what they asked for so they
Yep.
could explain and you could see what they asked for.
That's
Because-
your recommendation.
Because in
Well
the
done.
past too, but in the past, the fire departments were upset because the Board of Finance didn't get to see what they requested. So there's a lot of noise that comes into the Board of Selectmen and the first selectman's office. And so it is a tough decision. Would it be exactly what we would have necessarily put in ourselves? At least speaking for myself, no.
I would
And I
ask you
echo
next year
that.
not to, at least from my viewpoint, I would say, please tell us what you think. Rather
Will
than
you listen?
what you think we think. Maybe not. Maybe not.
And Ken's not here.
But I'd like to at least hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, no offense. To hear your thoughts.
Any other discussion?
Overall, we're saying that we're gonna change $5,000. Is that what the proposal is?
No.
Well, I'm sorry,
It would go from,
$10,000 more. Right?
it would go,
I'm
each
sorry?
company,
11,800.
yeah, for each company would go from 81,360 down to 70. So it's what, 2,000. 2,360?
Yes. And there's no fire advisory board. Is that true? At the moment?
Not at the moment.
Any other discussion?
I'd like to be able to give it to a fire advisory board and let them decide. As long as we're kicking the can down the road, might as well do that.
I'd
But
like to do the
we don't
same.
have that option.
But it's up to them to decide. They are incorporated, so they get to decide if that's a route that they want to go or not. All we can do in the meantime is decide how much to fund. Any other discussion? There's no more discussion. We'll go around the table. So everybody ready to go around the table? Okay. We're gonna start voting. Go to my left. Larry, how do you vote? Should I go this way
Yeah.
first?
Go ahead. Call me tomorrow.
I
I gotta sleep. I gotta-
I need to stop.
old like that.
I keep
Like
stepping
that.
on my left. Tell him tomorrow you're gonna be sleeping.
I will vote yes.
Okay, because I'm going around the opposite way. So Rob, words, you vote yes? Steve?
I'm gonna vote no.
Dave?
Yes.
Rob,
No.
Larry? And I'll vote yes.
Doesn't pass.
Did you
Pass.
vote yes twice?
Do you want me to? Because that would break the deadline. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
May I,
Go ahead.
have we completed our work on the budget?
I don't know.
good
I can't
question.
speak on behalf of everybody else.
Sounds like we are.
I would make a motion that we cancel tomorrow's meeting.
But before we do that, let's make a motion to move this forward.
Pardon?
Move this forward to the board of Selectmen.
Okay, so fair point. but-
Yeah, no.
Fair point, but a motion has been made to cancel tomorrow's meeting. Is there a second to cancel tomorrow's meeting? Hold on, is there a second to cancel tomorrow's meeting? Okay, so that motion fails for lack of a second.
Right now.
So then what's the way forward? Do we try to finish this now, or do we sleep on it and come back?
Are there more issues? I guess.
I
the
don't
question-
have any. That's
Maybe the
why,
question is, are there any more issues that we can actually get 4 people to agree on? I'm
Maybe.
willing to bet that they're very, very few. Very, very few. And probably relatively non-consequential would be my guess.
Mhm.
Reason I didn't second your motion, Dave, and I desperately wanted to, was because if we don't meet tomorrow, and we need to move this forward, we need to vote to move this
Mhm.
forward. Then
Well,
I would like to second your motion.
I'll make a motion to move it forward then. That's,
I'll second that.
I didn't make the motion. I said you can make the motion. to move it forward.
Okay, so.
I don't approve
I
of
thought you said I'll make a.
No, I,
So, to help you make your motion,
Yeah, please.
the
stop.
finance director, please provide the numbers that Steve would need to include in his motion in order for it to have the kind of legal effect.
As presented.
As amended.
So I believe we have talked in terms of the total expense amount in the past. It's 30,752,118. For a total tax warrant of 1,418,000. A proposed mill rate of 27.83. Which is a 2.81 mil increase from last year's budget.
What was that, to what?
2.81.
So Steve, is that
Yep.
the motion you're thinking of? Right, so Bill, could you do me a favor? And just toggle back over to that screen that you're looking at and scroll back up. Okay, so the motion is to forward out to town meetings and to referendum the following budget. Total expense amount, 30 million. Hold on a second. If you're here and you're not a member of the Board of Finance, please don't speak. We've got a motion that's in process and we want to make sure that the recording secretary gets it correct. So the amount that is being motioned is $30,752,118. And that represents, what was that next number you said, Bill? Did you say the tax warrant?
Total tax warrant of
So that's for a total tax warrant of $21,418,190. And a proposed mill rate of 27.83. Representing a mill rate increase of 2.81. And that's your motion?
That's it.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, so Steve has the motion and Rob Woods has a second. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on this motion? Any discussion?
I have a question for Bill in, because we're moving live. And once this is done, it's done. Do you need any time to remove, not second guessing you? You're doing an awesome job, but I know how spreadsheets work.
Yeah,
Yep. Sometimes they work really great.
yeah,
Sometimes they have little stuff going on.
Amen.
Are you comfortable that?
I am.
Okay. That was,
Here's what I would suggest, is that even if we agree, or at least 4 of us agree, to send this out, that we don't cancel tomorrow's meeting. Not now. Just in case, the finance director says, guys, I found something. Need you to come back and take care of blah, blah. We can always cancel this meeting tomorrow. We don't have, I believe the chair can just instruct the recording secretary, the meeting is canceled. So just in case the finance director reaches out to us tomorrow morning and says, guys, I found something. And if he reaches out tomorrow to me and says, go ahead and cancel, then I'll just cancel.
I think that's wise.
Okay.
You never know.
So-
She's doing it live and I've been there.
So right now, we're gonna be here by 6 o'clock. Correct?
As of this moment, even when we adjourn tonight, we still have a 6 o'clock meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
But
Sleep till 5.
if the finance director, assuming that we can get this. thing
5 in the
passed,
morning?
if the finance director tells me all's well, then I'll just tell the recording secretary to cancel the meeting.
Right.
And yes, you're right, because in the days before COVID, when Orla was the finance director, she was working from the old spreadsheet system. And it had its pluses and minuses. One of the minuses is that we would pass something like an entire budget, and she would reach out to us the next day and say, oops, guys, we gotta fix something. So any discussion on this motion? Any discussion? Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion?
Do we have hot dogs tomorrow?
If we can get this thing done, I'll buy you a beer. Okay, Okay, and I'll buy you whatever cocktail you
I
want.
like beer.
I'll take Larry's.
Not a
I'll buy you
Bud
whatever
Light.
cocktail you want.
Really?
Damn.
You heard this, right? Everybody?
You're not getting a Bud Light now?
Get a Long Island iced tea and I'll get it for you.
I have to go all the way out there?
Yeah, I'll
take it.
Come on, we'll try.
Move the question,
You
Mr.
drive
Chairman.
slow. You
So-
drive slow and you don't even look at the road.
Any relevant discussion? Any relevant?
Did you see him up there? He's driving and he's.
That's a
talking.
violation.
I move the question, Mr. Chairman.
It's illegal.
Any relevant discussion on this motion?
Okay, if there's no more discussion, then we vote, right? Everybody knows this is how it works. Any more discussion?
Which way?
Do you want me to start on your
How you
side
gonna
or the other
start?
side?
That's my discussion.
Sorry that way.
Okay, so we'll start on this side.
I vote yes.
Okay, Steve? Dave?
No.
Rob?
No.
Rob Man? Larry? We'll vote no. 3 to
Did you do
3.
this on purpose?
Nope.
Okay.
I knew which way I was gonna vote as soon as the motion was made.
Because I made it.
Nope. Not at all. I never play personality. Not sport. Just, I knew as soon as the motion was made, I knew that I would not be in favor. That's all. Nothing personal, nothing personal.
You also said before that if anything, it'd be very, very small. There's not much left.
That's right. But I shared my comments earlier. The comments about seeing this from a mile high.
Yep.
And understanding that there are people here who are probably disappointed to hear me put it in those terms. Because I'm not speaking in terms of down on the floor, I'm speaking from a mile high perspective. And that at the beginning of this budget season, I thought it would be nice if we could hit a mil or less. So as soon as the motion was made, I knew that I was not gonna be voting yes on this. If anybody else wants to beat me up, go for it.
I move we adjourn.
So there's a motion to adjourn, the motion's been made in second, so Dave has made a motion to adjourn, and Rob Word has seconded it. All-
It's
6 o'clock, hold on, Whoop. All in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? This meeting is now adjourned, it's 10:12 PM. We'll see you tomorrow at 12 PM.
You got it.